Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS. Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn.
While our focus, of course, is the North American Racing League, these drivers and teams have had 1 week away from league racing action to focus on Daytona, and now we join you this evening, January 26th, from another historic world stage, that of Spa in Belgium. Thanks for joining us here at Pit Stop TV. Glad to have you along for the trip out to Belgium for round number 6 of the North American Racing League GT3 season. Emerson Arden, of course, joining me on the call this evening. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV, and Emerson, we rejoined right back where we left off a couple of weeks ago, 1 round ago though from Japan, and everything just kind of gets back into that groove. It's a 3-race kind of sprint stretch to the end here. Spa this evening, Brands Hatch next week, Daytona the week following, and Spa it's a lot of things. I don't think it's any one thing for sure. Of course, it used to be this big, long, death-defying racetrack, and it's been shortened down to the Grand Prix circuit it is now, but it's still a scary place to race in some cases. It is still difficult, and it still tests every single driver, real or sim.
Absolutely. Again, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, it's very iconic circuit. It's held its own in open wheel with Formula One and endurance racing, a staple on almost any motorsports calendar it can find itself on, an instant favorite for the fans, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a very difficult course, long, very hard to get a rhythm here, and it's very easy to break it here. And I think most iRacers will tell you this track is so unforgiving on incident points, Andrew. And I know the NARL has a little bit of a stricter incident point limit than the official races will have here. So it's a very difficult track, a long, I know it's only a 40-minute race, so it's going to feel a little bit longer in the car. And again, it's going to be really easy to extend past those white lines.
Practice wrapping up for the amateurs. Milan Harris, fastest of the bunch at a 2:17.862. He unfortunately was not able to make the last round we ran at Suzuka 2 weeks ago due to internet difficulties, so glad he's here this evening and glad he's quick. Ahead of John Kroom, Brent Kingcott, Aubrey Kundle, and Zach Rosar, your top 5 in practice, and Blake Scott, Sully Sad, Logan Boone, David Stevenson, and Matthew O'Leary as time expires. Here's a look at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, and of course, so many historic corners. We've already touched on a few of them. But let's take you through the last La Source at turn 1, then Eau Rouge and Radion up and over the hill, down the Kemmel straight into Lacombe, and then Malmedy in that kind of 5, 6, 7 complex around Bruxelles into Jackie X Corner, which for a long time was known simply as No Name. Pouhon then for turns 10 and 11 are a long downhill left-hand sweeper to Lafayette, and for 12 and 13 rather. Campus makes up turn 14, Stavolo for turn 15. That brings you up to Blanchimont. A long, again, sweeping left-hander that is almost entirely different to Pouhon, even though it has kind of the same general structure in that it is a, well, long sweeping left-hander. Of course, the bus stop wraps up the lap that was added some time ago. You can see cars on track, practice over, qualifying underway, but first let's talk about our amateur point standings. Aubrey Kundle joins us tonight from the point lead. Boy, but only by 2 points over Brent Kingcott after taking that point lead away at Japan 2 weeks ago. Bradley Alvis now into the 3rd spot, Logan Boone 4th, Matthew O'Leary 5th, and this is crazy. 5 drivers within 8 points at the top of the order, and look at that, Brian Long is not far back, Karim Hussein, Kyle Patti, all well within the, I think honestly, your entire top 9. Very much championship competitors, candidates, if you will, all the way down through John Kroom. Even Ilya Speaker and Mark Scott are definitely long shots right now with how much this amateur class has moved all over.
Absolutely. We've seen week in and week out, Andrew, these drivers kind of, have their own with these races. It can get very chaotic in some of these races, as we've seen over the past few weeks. And I don't expect this race to be any different. Definitely can cause a more of a point shakeup. Again, very, very slim margin. I mean, the top 5 separated by 8 points is wild. And I still, I believe, if a few things went over people's way, that, 32, 34 points, it seems a little daunting. They would need some great races and a little bit of help, but would be doable over the course of 3 races. Only, let's see, 12, 13 points a race. It's not impossible.
We'll see how things shake out after this evening. Again, the third to final round on the schedule. Here's a quick look at the schedule. Of course, it still says January 19th for this round here on for round number 6 at Spa, but this race was actually moved somewhat in part for Daytona last week, the iRacing Daytona 24, that a lot of drivers and teams in this race, of course, were a part of. Emerson, I know you ran your race in that as well and had a bit of fun, but also because last week we were kind of on baby watch. Well, I shouldn't say kind of. We were on baby watch, and I am glad to announce that Andrew Cardinale V, which is still weird to say, Emerson, was born over the weekend. Yeah, everything is going well. Baby and mom are home. They are settling in. I have no sleep. She has no sleep. But, we are settling in. So I appreciate the congratulations from Scott and everybody in the chat already. Just want to touch on that briefly as we get ready for qualifying on track. Bradley Alvis, one of the first out there, along with Kyle Panty and so many others. And Emerson, you might know firsthand how car choice has gone in these GT3 cars. Granted, that was GTD regulations alongside other prototypes in the Daytona setup. Now we're looking at the full GT3, fully fleshed out class again, and we're seeing that car choice is really mixing up for what we saw at the beginning of the season, and even for race number 2. Bradley Alvis here in a BMW, Kyle Patsy in a Lamborghini, Zach Rosar in a Ferrari, Avon Dorsey tonight in a Porsche. Good to see him here. Clarence Rosa in a Ferrari, Aubrey Kundle in a Lamborghini, and Michael Pusick a Mercedes, John Kroom a Ferrari, Blake Scott an Audi. Go down to Dean Curry, you've got a BMW M4, Milan Harris driving a Ferrari 488 tonight, Mark Scott in an Audi R8, Sean Patterson in a Mercedes AMG, Logan Boone in a Ferrari. The list goes on and on and on. We've just got what seems like a complete grab bag, a random grab bag of drivers in different cars.
Absolutely. And that's great because we've seen over, the car choice is shifted over the past few weeks. Another update just came out on iRacing today, Andrew, so I'm sure we're still not done with the GT3 car carousel as it is here in the season. I know at Daytona there was a lot of BMWs back in play. Ferraris were the talk of the town. And we see a bunch of those here today, and that's probably because a lot of these drivers practice with those. But again, we had an update today. I'm sure these drivers will feel something a little different when they get to practicing for the next race. And it's great to still have a grab bag and to know that there's no one dominant car just yet.
And here's Milan Harris, currently dominating qualifying, but over 1/10 over John Kroom. And, we'd be remiss to talk about qualifying right now without mentioning track conditions. This is just as far as clouds and temperatures, not even touching on the wind that we're seeing out there, but 79.8 degrees in the air, 81 on track, and you can see it is mostly cloudy. A lot of cloud cover shading this facility currently. We'll see if that changes as the day goes on, but a very interesting race setup for sure as these guys settle in for qualifying. Milan Harris fastest so far. His teammate John Kroom nearly the same piece of racetrack as they have their own qualifying runs going. Here's the onboard with John Kroom, and we're going to drop through some of the top 10 here. How about Matthew O'Leary behind the wheel of a BMW this evening in 3rd. Brian Long down there in 6th in an Audi, it looks like. Joe Nagy tonight, 8th quick so far in the number 777 behind the wheel of a BMW. Blake Scott, I mentioned in an Audi, a new paint scheme there. How about Mike Braun, also in an Audi? Let's go further down, get some guys we haven't looked at just yet. How about Armando Bejaran behind the wheel of a Ferrari tonight? Let's see, Aaron Beaver in a Mercedes for Aerokinetics. Sean Patterson, we saw him, I think, briefly, but in a Mercedes as per usual. Kenneth Michael tonight, back in an Audi for him. Dominic Angelicchio in a Lamborghini. That's a bit weird. I'm used to seeing Alfa Romeo liveries for him, but it looks like getting in over at the Wrong Stuff Racing has done him well. Chad Dick in car 930 in a Lamborghini as well. I mean, again, the list goes on. It's really fascinating to see what these drivers are opting to go for. Here's Joshua Lyon in a Ferrari. I'm used to seeing him in Porsches.
Absolutely. I think it just speaks volumes that, again, these drivers, first of all, it says a lot about the drivers that they're able to adapt to so many different cars over the course of the season. But again, it says a lot about, iRacing continue to update these GT3 cars and the competitiveness of the GT3 category. It's again, no one car is just out and away from each other like we saw at the beginning of the season where everyone selected Porsches. It is refreshing, and it adds a whole other level to your practice regimen for these races. You have to try out several different cars to know which you're going to excel at. And you can't even just go based on what, others say or what, is the popular car of choice on the sim, because you still have to be sure that you can drive the car to its potential. And if you can't drive, the popular car to its potential, you might just have to try other cars and try to get the most out of those.
Here's an onboard for Joe Nagy with car 777, BMW for him tonight. We saw briefly there Zach Rosar in the top 10 currently in qualifying. How about Ricardo Delgado on board for car 3 in a Ferrari tonight? And not all of these cars, granted I think all of the cars that we'll see chosen tonight, but not all of these cars are even available to these drivers in GTD settings when they run the 24 hours of Daytona or the 12 hours of Sebring in the IMSA car class. So it's interesting, actually, that we're still seeing such a wide variety. Usually, you'll see a car dominate those special events, one particular manufacturer, but I think iRacing has done a great job of balancing these cars out and putting things more in the hands of teams and drivers to get the most out of their vehicle, no matter what vehicle it might be. And we're seeing some proper parity between these cars for once in the GT3 category. And let's touch briefly on some of the changes that were made going into this season of racing and that have been worked on over the course of the last 2 or 3 months. The GT3 updates for this class: new damage model, updated tire model, old setups no longer passing tech, so new setups have to be built if you are running open setups with these cars. How about most tires now only lasting about 1 fuel stint, sometimes less in some cases if you push them, but you still can double them. You still can run them for some time if you save on tracks that don't eat tires up too badly. A complete BOP overhaul, revised brake pad options, the list goes on. And it really has given us, I think, the best season of NARL GT3 racing we've ever seen.
It absolutely has. And the biggest thing, I think, especially for Daytona, Andrew, was the tires. And yes, you can double stint your tires. And granted, I ran in the LMP2 class, so I guess as far as GT3s, it may have been a little different. But as far as the LMP2 went, you were always pushing on your tires. You could run almost 3 stints when you got the nighttime on those tires. And now the strategy was to take tires every stop, because you take tires while refueling the car, which is what we've seen this season. Is of course played huge into the strategies of all of these drivers this season, in especially in the pro race, where you can take 2 tires. We've seen drivers take rear tires or front tires that they were having to kind of lean on those tires a little bit more. The update has done wonders. It's gone leaps and bounds to improve the racing product for these sports cars and iRacing, and I'd say it has.
Well, thanks for joining us once again this evening at Pit Stop TV. Glad you're doing so, as always. We certainly appreciate when you choose to spend your sim racing viewing time with us here at the channel. Emerson, glad to have you along. I know usually we would have JP on the call for this one as well, but glad you're kind of holding down the fort while we wait on him one more week, potentially 2. Hopefully he's here by Daytona to wrap up this season. Also, a big shout out to our partners here with the North American Racing League, VRS Virtual Racing School, Moradness, and JS Consulting. We'll get down trackside then and talk about our starting order on pole for the amateur race. 40 minutes of action coming up. Milan Harris in car 69 with a plenty nice starting position. John Kroon will join us tonight from second place, his teammate alongside. That is important up at the front of the field. Matthew Lear will start from third. It's Bradley Alvis in fourth spot. Starting fifth, you'll find Aubrey Kundal, and Brian Long will join the field in sixth. To wrap up the top 10, the back 2 rows here, Dominic Turcotte, Joe Nagy, Zach Rosar, and Blake Scott to make up your top 10 starters.
Row number 6, you'll find Mike Braun, Kyle Petit starting at 11th, 12th. 13th, we'll find Scott Angelo and Brett Kingcott. Will start from the 14th position around row number 7. Row 8, it'll be Logan Boone and Ricardo Delgado to make up 15th and 16th. Row 9, it'll be Sonny Brown and Ilias Speaker, 17th and 18th. And rounding out row number 10, it'll be David Stevenson and Michael Pusick.
Exactly smack dab in the middle of the field in 21st of 41, you'll find Joshua Lyon in car 24. Armando Bejaran will start from 22nd. Starting 23rd, it's Bruce Jackson for Aerokinetics alongside Sully Sad. Starting 25th, that's Mark Scott in car 267 alongside Aaron Beaver in 26th. 27th, Dean Kerr. 28th, Sean Patterson. To round out the top 30, you've got Avon Dorsey and Jeff Castillo. We're going to rapid fire these last 11. Dominic Angelico, Nicholas Sykes, then Kenneth Michael and Chad Dick. 35th, it'll be Philip Madurka, then Billy Barrowman. 37th and 38th, that's Corey Groves and Kerry Corcoran. And at the back of the field, Don Gottlieb, Stephen Finch, and finally, 41st of them all, Clarence Rosa, as the leaders roll down to the bus stop here to get things rolling. Once again, thanks so much for joining us. Yes, you'll see some frame rate things happening here at the start. That tends to happen in these 40-some-odd car fields with these new damage model. It will tame itself as we go on. But glad to have you once again here at Spa. We've got 40 minutes of GT3 amateur action starting here in just one moment. And out of the bus stop, we are green flag at Spa. Oh, we got some crashing onto the Kemmel Straight. Oh my goodness. Look at this smash 'em up coming around the bend after Radion, and it just gets worse and worse. I see Bruce Jackson, Philip Badurka, Kenneth Michael, and some more back here in car 19. Oh my goodness, carnage there. And we've got more happening in Malmedy. We've got one car off. I think that was one of the Muradnas Ferraris, but everybody will continue on down to Bruxelles and through the Jackie X corner. And here go the race leaders actually out of Jackie X corner down to Pouan. This is going to be an exciting first lap to go back and look at.
Absolutely, and here it is. This is where you kind of test the limits of the car. And the fixed setup, you know, you can't make the car perfect to run here through Pouan. And you're going to see these drivers get all they can on entry. That curb is, you know, legal real estate on the racetrack. But extending past that red and white curbing, that is a no-no by iRacing standards. And there's the 87, part of that junk 'em up, leaving Radion onto the Kemmel Straight.
Avon Dorsey, unfortunately, in trouble here. This is going into the Jackie X corner, trying to stay off the racetrack and just get back going. John Kroom and our leaders now down through Campus and Stavolo and wrapping up this lap here in just a few short moments. Such a special racetrack here at Spa, but it takes a lot to get it right, especially with these 40-car starts. Boys, it's so easy to have something go wrong, as we've got going on with Chad Dick and some others in the back of the field. This is out of Pouan, headed down to Lafayette. This is more trouble all over the place.
I mean, this is tough, and this is speaking volumes again to how difficult this track is. Now, there's plenty of space, you know, to try to avoid these incidents, especially back there in Pouan, but drivers not as lucky, maybe not, you know, the timing not working out the greatest for them, but all these incidents on the opening lap, Andrew, is really shaking up the running order.
And look at the bus stop here for these drivers coming on through, wrapping up their first lap of action. Back through about the 20th position now has come across the line. And let's go back and see what happened there over Radion for the first time. That always is a trouble spot. I'm actually surprised that we got to Radion with no issue. I'm surprised we got through Eau Rouge. That tends to be a trouble spot as well. But let's just watch this as drivers came up to Eau Rouge and over Radion. These are our leaders initially. But what happens here in a moment? That's the question. So this might be a decent look as cars come over Radion, headed down to the Kemmel Straight. One car got loose, and wow, that was a big, massive impact. I think that was Mark Scott potentially, and cars just came flying in, piling in from out of nowhere.
You know what, Andrew, that can be very easy to do. We see a lot of mistakes, even in real life, happen at the top of the hill there, top of Radion. It happens, especially on these starts where the tires are cold. If you notice, it was a very short pace lap, Andrew. There was almost no time to warm up the tires, and then you come across this curve. He actually didn't even hit that curve.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, that's a massive hit.
Of course, cars flying in here full throttle, full song. Nobody wants to stop, and really nobody feels they should have to. And that, you know, on the first lap of action, I see Bruce Jackson, Philip Badurka, and so many more taking big impacts. But Mark Scott, I really hope he's not in VR. That is one of the most vicious impacts we've seen in North American Racing League action ever. Here's a look at it on board. Oh, he actually gets into the back of that BMW, man. And that is just a vicious, vicious impact.
And it didn't get any better. After the vicious impact to the right side wall, came right back into traffic and got ricocheted more back across the track. And Andrew, you know, I know it'd be easy to blame, the BMW, why were they going so slow on the racing line? The race just started, and it's probably because cold tires. The cars are very uneasy. You're not exactly sure what the setup will do through this part of the track on cold tires until you're trying your best. Also, ran a little wide there as well. Oh, no, wrong. It's the wrong BMW. And Mark Scott just had nowhere to go. He couldn't avoid the BMW, and that's all she wrote for about 15 or so competitors behind.
Well, lap 2 has now concluded as well as these drivers get on to the third lap of action here at Spa. Those big impacts, those are ones you have to get back with the replay sometimes. That is massive. That is, I think, one of the biggest impacts we've ever seen, if not the biggest we've seen in the North American Racing League in all their competition. That is, wow. Thankfully, this is a simulator, and these guys can shake those kind of crashes off. Sometimes I know direct drive wheels can shake up some wrists, but I don't think anybody's too hurt after that one. Here's Logan Boone working on Bradley Alvis ahead of Sonny Brown with a side-by-side here on Blake Scott as well. And you can see Sonny Brown actually side-by-side with another behind these guys with David Stevenson, as everybody doing some battle here between Malmedy and Lacombe. And now down to Bruxelles. Here we go.
Yeah, this is another great passing opportunity. You kind of get that long slipstream down to Kemmel straight. You have your go through Lacombe.
Oh!
Oh, hold on to her. Just clipping that grass after getting forced out wide. Blake Scott will recover nicely, though. Hold on to that spot there in 10.
He lost the spot to Bradley Alvis, and I think Alvis might have run him out a little bit out of Bruxelles, expecting Blake to fall behind him, but that was interesting for sure. I'm glad Blake was able to hang on to the race car. He might be a little more aggressive when he gets back to Bradley, if he's able to get back to that BMW. That was definitely scary. And Aubrey Kundle, meanwhile, is in the 5th spot working on Dominic Turcotte, and Aubrey is your point leader heading into this evening. In a very interesting time of the season, Emerson. 3 races to go. This championship run potentially starts now.
Absolutely. If you haven't been, batting 1,000, being as perfect as you can be over the past 5 races, it's go time now. With 3 races left, with the margins as close as they are, Andrew, there is absolutely zero room for error. If you're going to be a legitimate contender for the championship this season, it comes with perfect racing. And oh my goodness, there is a huge dive bomb in the bus stop.
And we've got cars all over the place. Sonny Brown is one of them. It looks like Logan Boone as well in that red Ferrari, car 33, that we've grown to know and love. But let's take a look at what happened here. So, let's see. It looks like Logan is ahead of Sonny Brown. Being that these are the 2 cars involved, I'd imagine Sonny Brown comes in from behind potentially. Let's take a look here. Into the bus stop. Sonny Brown, 2 cars behind that red Ferrari. The white hood is Sonny, and he comes into the bus stop. Oh, man. Just cooking that corner and some contact there.
Yeah, that looks like that might have been a missed braking point, certainly, or maybe not counting for slipstream up the hill through Blanchimont, but that is a lot. That was a huge difference in speed by the time they got down to the apex.
Well, here is Logan Boone now. He has gotten a lot of suspension damage, and that car is certainly not going to make it in its current condition. The problem here, Emerson, is not so much that he got a lot of damage. It's just that he knocked the toe out with that contact from Sonny Brown. Sonny was able to get him right in the right rear, and you can actually visually see it. The right rear is towed out in the front of the car, or sorry, the front of the tire rather, and that is completely changing the handling of this machine and making it very, very scary, especially through corners like Eau Rouge and Radillon that this lap hinges on. So you'll see the 33 pit this time, it looks like, and take repairs to get back on the racetrack. Meanwhile, Aubrey Kundle putting some pressure on Dominic Turcotte. This is for 4th position. A Mercedes in the top 5, that is a sight for sore eyes for sure, but Dominic putting a beautiful run together here for this Merc. This is beautiful.
Absolutely. This is some great racing. There's great racing going on all around the lap right now. But right here for the 4th position between Turcotte, Kundle, and Long, coming up the hill into the bus stop, chicane. Looks like everybody's kind of continue to fall in line, but you have these opportunities. You go from that long straightaway into the front straightaway here, the grid, the pit straight, which isn't extremely long. You can probably set up an overtake if you get a great run out of the bus stop. But here out of turn 1, Andrew, it is on throttle pretty much from here to Lake Home. I mean, this is a long straightaway, a lot of slipstream, and passing will be aplenty here.
Yeah, and you may burp the throttle a little bit for Eau Rouge, and really right here to just get the car set again to come up over Rowdy. You might burp the car just a little bit, but otherwise you are on throttle all the way to Lacombe, all the way down the Kemmel Straight, and you can see these guys just flying down this straightaway here. Aubrey Kundle in tow of Dominic Turcotte, Brian Long, the car right behind these two. As you see the leaders in the foreground work into Lacombe, and there's the move from Aubrey Kundle. That is good for 4th position on the Mercedes of Turcotte. And now the Audi of Long might have an opportunity here shortly, and this is what we're talking about with the different car choice. We're talking about a Lamborghini passing a Mercedes in front of an Audi, and 3 months ago, 4 months ago, that simply would not have been commonplace in GT3 racing on iRacing, at least not at the front. Yeah, exactly. Michael Pusick in trouble, it looks like, in Lacombe. And he's going to hold up Sean Patterson. An interesting rejoin, I'll say that. Let's take a look.
Yeah, coming down here into the chicane, into Lacombe, it's very difficult. You're carrying the most speed you're carrying on the lap coming down here, and you get a little optimistic. Your eyes get wide when you come down here and you have the opportunity to make an overtake. And let's see what happened here between the Audi and the Mercedes.
That was Stevenson going by. Pusick gave up that spot and then gets into Stevenson and goes off track a little bit. We've seen that more and more, where the car making contact from behind is actually the car that gets loose, and then, yeah, Pusick just drives back on the racetrack in front of Sean Patterson. I don't think that was intentional, but, yeah, that's a weird spot where you rejoin kind of right in the racing line if you do go off right there. And, well, thankfully there was no incident from that as Logan Boone sacked up with Angelicchio.
Yeah, it's been weird to see these incidents where the car behind is the one that kind of gets the worst end of the stick, Andrew. I'm guessing that, you know, at this point you probably jump on the brakes a little much, and maybe the bias is set so far to one direction that the rear end comes around, and or maybe just lift the throttle, throws the car massively off balance, and there's no air to the nose to keep it settled either. But usually the car that in front getting into the wall or going off the track as a result of incidents like that.
Honestly, I'm not sure the science behind it. I would imagine it's a matter of taking a lot of weight on the car very suddenly in the nose, and the car just kind of pivoting around. But this is a look here at Scott Angelo and Ilya Speaker. This would be a battle and Kyle Petit, this would be a battle for 16th, 17th, and 18th. 3 very good drivers that I'm surprised are this far back in this race. Petit, Angelo, and Speaker. So Petit joins us this evening from 8th spot. Sorry, I'm looking just briefly for Angelo. He is admittedly mired in the points. He is 15th in the standings as here we go, side by side. It looks like with David Stevenson down to Lacombe. Stevenson, the purple Audi on the inside. Petit, the Lamborghini that goes around the outside here. And Petit may just have it, maybe not. Great defense there from David Stevenson, but it's not over.
Awesome stuff. It's not done here into this carousel. As Petit holding station there in the Lambo.
And our points leader has been taken out, it looks like, at the Jackie X corner. We're going to briefly get a replay of this and rejoin that fight we were just watching. I know this isn't timing and scoring. I was hoping that battle would kind of calm down. But this fight with Aubrey Kundle and Dominic Turcotte, it just kept getting better and better, unfortunately, until this precipice. And I say unfortunately because this is what happens here to Kundle. The point leader gets in deep. And look at that. Another issue of these cars just kind of spinning around after contact with the nose to the back end of another car.
Right, and that one more specifically, that looks like maybe Kundle overdrove the entry to corner a little bit, and the rear end didn't really like that. Also, you know, with a car in front, you know, there's nowhere to the nose. But again, like you said, Andrew, just a car closing up really quickly to a car in front, the car behind, for whatever reason, whether it's a checkup or a brake or just too much speed or tires just can't handle it or car's off balance, the car goes around.
Scott Angelo is all over Kyle Petit. I think Angelo's got some better straight line speed and was trying to find a way by into Blanchimont, but that did not happen. Now, a little bit of swerving there for this 16th position. Oh, contact Kyle Pantee into the back end of Stevenson. They're 4 abreast down the front straightaway out of the bus stop, and here comes another on the right side. That's Aaron Beaver in the pink Mercedes. He's going to take a 3, maybe 4-for-1 special into Losaurus up the inside of Kyle Pantee. He's going to try and take that spot away, and I think it's going to be a drag race up to Eau Rouge, and yes, it will. Pantee now losing the advantage in this specific battle. This is for 16th as he gets back in line behind Aaron Beaver, and up Eau Rouge will go.
Looks like a race start here, Andrew, like a little 6-car mini race, and that's essentially what it's been.
Like B6 showed up.
Stuff. Yep, exactly.
You can see one car swerving. That's Ilya Speaker, the BMW, leading this train as we work down to Lacombe once again. And, I think Kyle Pantee wanted by into that corner, but no opportunity. These guys are racing tooth and nail. A lot of them in good positions in the point standings, but do you really want to fight this hard at this stage of the race? It's hard to say, as Logan Boone is on the pit lane. Of course, we saw his incident a little bit ago. And he is in, I would imagine, for some repairs for sure. I also saw that we had a slow Avon Dorsey, and yes, he is in the pit lane as well in car 87, hopefully returning shortly, and there he will go. Back onto the racetrack, Joshua Lyon now slow in car 24. The Ferrari spun around at the top of Radion, it looks like.
That is over in
Actually,
Pool.
yeah, it is.
Going. But looks like no harm, no foul. Maybe just went, a little too much speed on entry to Pouwan. You have to go a little wide and spin out. Look, there's a whole ton of runoff there out on the outside of Pouwan. Believe me, I know. I've been there a lot.
So here's Lyon, headed down to Pouwan, and the Ferrari just got curbing on entry, and we saw that a bit at Suzuka. We haven't seen as much of it today so far at Spa, thankfully. But Lyon just kind of goes right around, slides to a stop, and we'll get back going now in the 20th position on the racetrack. I will say we've got a decent little pair up front. As actually Blake Scott has got in trouble. He was just slow a moment ago. We're still not live. Here we go. Now we're live. He is coming into the pit lane. That would explain the slower pace here for Blake Scott as he's going to come in and pit.
We're at that halfway mark, Andrew, so these drivers are coming in for fuel. And I think that was the case with Logan Boone as well. Maybe got a little bit of damage repairs, but I don't think Boone was meatballed, so I think he was okay to continue.
Here's Joshua Lyon after that spin. I would imagine we'll see 4 tires go on this 24 car after that slide. Once you slide these tires, Emerson, it's almost always beneficial to just go ahead and change tires. But Joshua Lyon maybe just going to keep those 4 tires on the machine and get back on the racetrack as soon as he can, as Blake Scott will head back onto the speedway. And Bradley Alvis battling with Ricardo Delgado side by side as we go down to Lacombe. These guys racing for 8th.
Still going at it side by side on the Ferrari, getting up on the curbing, no clear in front of the BMW to head down into the carousel.
Ruxell's here, Jackie X next, and then Pouwan. Really, no good passing opportunities for a couple of corners here for Bradley Alvis to try and get this spot back away. Alvis, the BMW, Delgado, the Ferrari. What I was going to mention previously was John Kroom sitting within a second of his teammate Milan Harris. That gap has now widened by an extra couple of tenths as they ride first and second. But Brian Long is also closing in on Dominic Turcotte and problem Sonny Brown and Kyle Pantee. Pantee will keep going, but that right side looks very torn up, and I don't think he's making it to the next corner. Or at least through. He might. Wow, I'm surprised he's continuing, but this car is damaged. You'll see it here in a moment.
Yeah, it happened right there back in, well, it used to be called No Name, but a lot of action was going on down there, and a little contact just down at the apex. Very easy to misjudge the car in front and how fast you can speed through that corner.
The Jackie X corner always a fun one. And let's check this out. Pantee in this Lambo on screen. Looks like maybe Sonny Brown might have had an issue ahead. No, Pantee gets loose into Jackie X and just backs it into the tire wall there. And then I imagine comes onto the racetrack and oh, wow.
Oh, no.
They nearly avoided that. And wow, the wreck avoidance there. These guys kind of resuming as there's oncoming traffic. I always try to shy away from that. Let's get one more view of this. specifically one more view from the point of view of Sonny Brown in this Ferrari. So nearly avoided tragedy. And out of Jackie X, let's take a look at this as Patsy rejoined and suddenly just kind of came right, and wow.
There's nothing Sonny Brown could have done there. That is unfortunate.
Oh my goodness, the near misses there. That's crazy.
That left front tire, though, that is not the correct direction. Should not see that much rim on this camera angle.
Meanwhile, a great battle for 8th. Delgado's still got it as these two are literally nose to tail through Bruxelles once again. Now Alvis in that same spot we saw him in a couple of laps ago. Just trying to find a way by, and it's not going to happen in Puhan. But Zach Rosar, he's on the back end of Dominic Turcotte. Rosar behind the wheel of a Ferrari tonight. Turcotte behind the wheel of his longtime choice car of a Mercedes-AMG GT3. And this, the battle for 5th.
Can't say I blame him, man. That Mercedes sounds amazing. I do love the sound that iRacing did for the this is the newer Mercedes GT3 as well. So it's pretty good. But coming up the hill here to Blanchimont, this is a great opportunity to set up. Maybe you try to set up the pass, force your opponent
right there
into a, yep.
Here we go. Rosar now backs out into Blanchimont. Very wise decision. It's difficult to go through there side by side. I'm not sure anybody has ever done it successfully in a GT3 car on iRacing. It is so tough. As Turcotte slides a little bit into that corner, into the bus stop, and will now peel off and head down the pit lane. So that was actually very important for Turcotte to hold off the onslaught there from Rosar to try and stay ahead, and he does so. And that's going to hold Rosar now back. So Turcotte should be able to slap back in front of him after the pit lane a little more easily than if he were to let Rosar go by. So that's why that's so important for the 173 to hold on to that spot, even though he was coming to the pit lane. Now Delgado will come in straight out of that battle with Alvis.
Yeah, I was just about to say, going in, if you can set up a pass out of Blanchimont into the bus stop, or at least, make it seem like you're going to make an overtake there, force your opponent off the line or to give you the space into the corner, and then you make the pit stop, that does you wonders as well. Because it's a little bit of a mind game, but you also get them off the preferred racing line, and you get the pit, with a little bit less of a time deficit, if you will, and then they more than likely will come around and pit the next lap to cover it off.
Armando Bejeron loses a spot there. This is currently for 9th, but this is before the pit cycle out entirely, as the pit window has been busted wide open for the amateurs tonight here in the North American Racing League. So Kundal taking that spot away, the point leader who comes into tonight with only 2 points to spare over Brent Kingcott. Now, where is Brent Kingcott? Well, that's funny because Kingcott is literally right in front of Kundal here. So these two could, and I say could, be fighting for the point lead because they are both right behind Bradley Alvis currently, and we'll see how things kind of sort out after this pit cycle. It's also worth mentioning that the drop weeks have been figured in for the first time, I believe, going into this round, and Logan Boone also, by the way, is well down the order, 29th currently, so this could be Logan's drop week. Brian Long, Matthew O'Leary, let's see, O'Leary is actually in 3rd, Long is in 4th. It's going to be a very interesting shakeup in the standings.
And that's exactly what I expected coming into today's race, Andrew. We haven't, honestly, Andrew, we have not been given a calm race this season, which is great for us. And I'm sure it is an absolute nightmare for these drivers who are trying to put together a season and try to piece these races together and get these results in some sort of consistent fashion to compete for a championship in their respective categories. But it has not been doing these drivers any favors. It has been chaos pretty much week in and week out. And it's been great. Coupled with that, we've had the amazing racing. So we've kind of gotten the best of both worlds.
Pit lane finally getting exciting now. Rosar came in that time, along with Kingcott. So Rosar up on the jacks, it's worth noting, as Kingcott comes in. Mike Braun as well, right behind Rosar there. Kingcott then comes in. Aaron Beaver will join us in the pits. He is up on the jacks as well in his Mercedes. And Braun will pull away. Brent Kingcott, no tires there. He gets going now, kind of buzzes the rears a little bit more than I think he might have liked, as there goes Aaron Beaver being very, very careful on those rear tires.
So Beaver did just change those tires, so honestly, maybe it would have been a little better to recommend a little bit with the acceleration down the pit exit, especially since they're cold.
The only concern then is you have a mismatch of hot tires in the rear, cold tires on the front. That can get sketchy. It's difficult, right? I mean, there's no, I guess, best way. You've just got to try and keep the tires as good as you can. Get them to optimal temperature as quickly as you can. Without spinning, of course. Here's Kenneth Michael out of the pit lane. Quick stop for him.
And the thing, when you take tires here, Andrew, even the 2 tires, you know, you have cold tires, and then you have the first corner off of pit lane is a Rouge, and then Radeon. Massive elevation change, huge, very difficult corner. And we got a battle here.
This is important. This is Blake Scott and Brent Kingcott. Kingcott goes on through there into the Jackie X corner. Both of these drivers have now pitted. Kingcott, fresh out of the pit lane. Scott, 3 laps ago did he pit. And let's see, so Kingcott is racing Aubrey Kundle, who has not pitted yet. We'll see if Aubrey pits this time by. They were racing each other before the pits just a lap ago and are racing each other in the point standings as well. So we'll have to watch these two as Kundle will come around and have the opportunity in just a moment as he leads Armando Bejaran here for the 6th position currently. And of course, that will change here in just a moment. Let's see if Kundle pits.
Coming to the bus stop. Yep, it's
yes.
time.
Along with Armando. Everybody coming in this time. Milan Harris is in car 69, the race leader. John Kroom comes in. Matthew O'Leary right behind him. Brian Long. None of these guys. Actually, Brian taking tires in the Audi. That seems like a wise decision for the Audi so far this season. Here's Bradley Alvis. Aubrey Kundle will come on down to the Lambo. Armando Bejaran in the Ferrari. No tires there. Scott Angelo will keep going. No, Angelo I think is pitting. It's tough to tell sometimes when everybody comes in at once, but there you go. Angelo in the pit lane as Milan Harris works back onto the racetrack.
And the thing there, Andrew, I wonder maybe some of these drivers were closer to making it, you know, an extra lap. But with this track, this lap being so long, almost it's 4.39 miles, almost over 7 kilometers in length, Andrew. If you run out of gas on the far side of this course, that is a hefty tow. So a lot of these drivers, I'm sure, if they were even close to make it one more lap.
Oh my goodness, Brian Long has just binned it straight out of the pits. He was the driver running 4th that just took tires on the Audi, rejoined straight behind Zach Rosar in the Ferrari, and he has gone and binned it somehow. I'd imagine in Radeon, let's ride on board. Also worth mentioning, Brent Kingcott has won the race between himself and Aubrey Kundle back onto the racetrack. And wow, that is a tough one for Long to try and swallow here. He gets back off the racetrack, realizes the extent of the damage, and stops.
Andrew, that is so common. That's so easy to do.
Aubrey Kundle has had more trouble.
Oh no!
You can't script this kind of stuff.
Oh no!
The points leader is out of the pit lane. Yeah, the same exact place. Teammates to Brian Long. This is so tough. Here's Kundle up and over Radeon. Watch the exact same thing happen to his Lamborghini. Maybe a little bit earlier in the corner. Slams into the outside wall. And that championship run we were talking about.
That's a huge hit. That is a huge hit. That's to the points into the car. And Andrew, what I was saying with Brian Long, and the same thing happened there with Kundle, cold tires, just it's so treacherous when you first leave the pit lane. It's so easy to do your first lap out off the pit lane to bin it there in the Rouge and Radeon. It's such a daunting corner. You try to nail it right, you clip the curbing, which by the way has caused so many problems last time out at Suzuka. So that's probably another factor to clue in as well, is that the curbing has been accepting and then spitting these cars right back out as soon as they clip it.
And what we're talking about with cold tires is these drivers, they come in, they take new tires in their pit stops in some cases. In other cases, they keep the same tires on. So they've just run, 20, 30 minutes on one set of tires. They have the option of taking tires or not. If they don't take tires, they have the same temperature tires. They might cool down a little bit in the pit lane by not running as fast because, of course, friction builds that temperature. Friction with the pavement on the racetrack. And, of course, the heart of the racetrack, because this is a very scary moment there for Delgado on Mike Braun. Delgado takes that spot for 6th. But friction and track temperature add to tire temperature, basically. And you can keep those tires on the car, or you can switch those tires out for brand new tires. But those brand new tires, while they might not have as much wear, just like on your normal street car, you only get like a year out of a set of 4 tires in your car, right? You want to change those out. A brand new set of tires, yes, they have more tire life. They will technically last a little bit longer. You might be able to push them a little bit harder at first, or I guess theoretically you could push them harder for the rest of the run, but when you send them out there on cold temps versus a hot racetrack, you don't have that same optimal grip. It's very difficult to explain, I guess, in layman's terms, but ideally, to a certain point, you want the tire hot. That means it's kind of sticky, it grips the pavement, and it gives you optimal grip. If it's cold, it's not that hot. If it's way too hot, it starts to melt and blister. Well, then you're not getting grip either. So there's an optimal tire temperature range. When it's too cold or too hot, you don't have that grip. In this case, they're taking tires in the pit lane, heading back out there on the racetrack. It's too cold, they have no grip. They push a little bit too hard, and we see what happens over Radeon for a couple of these rear-engine cars. And the other part of it, Emerson, is we see it more so for rear-engine cars like the Audi and the Lamborghini that are so aggressive on their suspensions, just on their car chassis in general, just the nature of those race cars. And, cars like the Mercedes-AMG, not that we have many, I guess, front-engine cars in GT3 anymore, but cars that are front-engined or just more well-balanced don't have that kind of issue. Usually the Ferrari is phenomenally well-balanced for being a mid-engine sports car, but the Audi and Lamborghini platform that runs here in GT3 competition is very aggressive, higher rake, and attacks these corners, and it just tends to be a bit more free, a bit more hard to handle. So put it all together, a scary corner like Eau Rouge and Radeon, you're going to have problems. So what these drivers have to do then, as I've gone on this whole ramble now for a lap, and I apologize, but is basically just lift a bit more, go slower to get these tires up to temp, and it's so tough to pace yourself. Emerson, you know it firsthand.
Terrible.
It's not easy to tell yourself in a race to just slow down.
Yeah, that doesn't bode well for, we're racers, we're competitors, That's the last thing you want to do. But you're right, the cold tires, they don't, when they're cold, they're hard, and they don't mesh into the track, so you have no grip. And it's basically just like driving on, plastic until you get those tires meshed in, and
yes, there you go.
The rubber things.
That's a great way to look at it. Is they're harder as well. Of course, you heat rubber up and it gets soft. So if you have colder rubber, it's hard, and it is a bit like plastic at first. If you have a plastic Hot Wheels car or something, as Braun catches some curving there into Puan, if you have a plastic Hot Wheels car with those plastic wheels, and you try to take that out on some pavement, there's no grip, right? It just kind of slides around, or even on some tile, whatever. It just slides around. It's that kind of feeling for these drivers, and they've just got to be oh so careful. Downforce only does so much in those situations. We have 7.5 minutes to go. I'll just try and give everybody a mental break for a moment. That was a lot to take in, I know, but now that we have our racing lesson out of the way for the evening, Emerson, here's a battle for 12th. Ilya Speaker, Scott Angelo. Ilya Speaker for Rockefeller Racing, Angelo for Muradness, Aaron Beaver just behind these guys in a Mercedes, trailing a lapped pink Shut Up and Drive It Audi that I believe, yes, is Stephen Finch, mired in 34th position. And John Kroom has just gone purple.
That?
This might reshift our focus here. John Kroom running second. He's in drafting range of his teammate.
He's there.
And Emerson, of course, they're playing teammate games, right? John doesn't want to get too close, is not trying to race Milan Harris, but at the same time, John is in that draft range of 1 second that we talk about.
Absolutely, he gets the optimal slipstream. It's going to be hard to get the run and make an overtake attempt this time by. But if you continue to stay in that draft, close up the gaps, if you're able to follow closely in the dirty air, which is difficult to do, you can start to benefit from this. And in the waning moments, you can put the pressure on Milan Harris. One little mistake at this distance, it just takes maybe a couple missed apexes, and you are there.
So that's the battle for the race lead. It's not really a battle yet. We still have 6 minutes to go. An expected 3.5 more laps for these drivers out front. I think it'll be 2.5 with the pit stop. Of course, a long lap here at Spa. You can easily lose a lap with pit stops in the race, as Nicholas Sykes has a problem. It looks like he's into the pit lane and taking service. But Milan Harris here leading this show has got a little bit of lap traffic to contend with. John Kroom, his teammate behind. Of course, they're going to work together, but how long do they work together? Do they work all the way to the checkered flag?
Well, I mean, Milan Harris, he has won this season. Has John Kroom won this season?
I think more importantly, look at the standings. Milan Harris has missed a few very important races, even with a drop week now figured in. Missed Suzuka, for example. He is not even in the top 20, it looks like. Just double checking my notes here. Nowhere in the top 20. John Kroom, though, is 9th. And I talked about earlier at the top of the show, the top 9 realistically having a shot at this title. Let's bring this back up, actually. These are your standings, your amateur standings coming into tonight. Note John Kroom down there in the 9th position. That's what we're talking about here. He's only 21 points out with 3 races to go, 7 points a race. He can absolutely close in on Aubrey Kundal, who is nowhere to be found on track right now. Aubrey is down there, actually, I guess, 32nd. So on track, yeah. That is a huge blow to Aubrey's season. Brent Kingcott, yes, he's 9th on track, but that's that 7 spots that John Kroom rather needs, and that's an extra 2 points that Kingcott does not have compared to Aubrey Kundal. So, yeah, this is looking good right now for Kroom, especially if they play some teamwork to get him the win. However, in the moment we've been talking about standings, the gap has widened.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kroom looks like he was not able to follow that closely through the bus stop, and maybe a little bit of a tow from the lap to Lamborghini here maybe helping out. It may just help out Kroom as well if Harris has to go offline there to overtake the Lamborghini.
And now the Lambo right in front of John Kroom through Bruxelles. Where will that slower car go? Thankfully, to the inside and out of the way of the race leader. And, you know, I feel like it's worth mentioning that it's not necessarily the best way to do things, but Chad Dick just wants to stay out of the way in this case. It worked out there, but in most cases, in fact, in 99% of cases, you don't want to stop or slow down and jam on the brakes on a race course unless you have to in the case of an emergency or something. But that worked out. Thankfully, there was room for him to do that while it's still being safe.
It's hard, you know, as a lap vehicle, you know, you're trying to continue your own race, and then you don't want to be that guy that, you know, puts a stamp on the leader's race, or, you know, on the outcome of a race for some sort of position way up in the running order. But again, yeah, especially in that section where they caught him, there's not a whole lot of places for a driver to just lay over as well. It could have been very difficult there, but played it very nicely. And now we watch to see if Kroom can close that gap. It's 0.7 of a second. If Kroom can nail this bus stop, he might still have a go here. Great under braking. Can he keep it up through the center of the bus stop? Can he get on the throttle the way his teammate can?
We're on board here with John Kroom. Watch the gap at the bottom right of the screen.
You know what, Andrew? He closed 0.4 that lap, so that is a huge step in his direction. And, Andrew, they crossed the line with about 5 seconds more than their last lap time, so they're barely going to get one more lap.
Watching this all progress here as John Kroom has just 2 laps to go to try and pass his teammate. He's within striking distance for sure. And I think at any point in time could easily draft up. He's just got to link these corners together in a way that he can make up another 10th here, another 10th there, potentially on his teammate Milan Harris. Milan Harris, as we've mentioned, a rough season. Missed a couple of races. Most recently in Japan, was not in the 5th race of the season due to internet connectivity issues, and just wants to overcome that and put up a good showing tonight. We'll see how hard these two race. They do have 3.4 seconds back to Matthew O'Leary currently in car 18, who has really shined this season from Radness. They've had a good season, I think, but they have so many cars that we frequently see Maradna's colors involved in a crash, just because there's so many of them out in this field, and bad luck tends to find them. But the Oceanic Coffee Advanced Sim Racing machines have just been fantastic all season long, especially when you look at the orange mirrored, if you will, number 18 of Matthew O'Leary here in this amateur category. He has just been sensational, holding down the fort realistically for that organization. Also worth mentioning, the only other battle we really have in the top 10 is Ricardo Delgado and Mike Braun. Here's Mike Braun in 7th, chasing Delgado. Nothing really happening there. Here's our race leaders.
Once again, looks like Milan Harris opened a little bit there on the backside of the course. Now up the hill through Blanchimont. And again, gotta set yourself nicely for this final lap. Oh, a little bit of a moment there on the way up to the bus stop for Milan Harris. This is huge. A Kroom can string the bus stop together. Get on the throttle. We'll see what the gap is here.
They're going to this line here. The flagman waving that white flag. 10 seconds to go. Of course, we do get now this final lap brought to you by Whiplash Media Simcams. 1 lap to go.
Closed up another couple attempts by the start-finish line, or I guess the finish line in this case. Now up the hill, there's a lap car that actually is going to probably play into the favor of Milan Harris here for Slipstream.
But could it slow him down in Lacombe? That's the question as our race leaders trudge up the hill and along the Kemmel Straight for the final time. Oh, to slow down! Milan Harris maybe, or was that a tactic? Milan Harris, a big-time braking. Do you want to go back and review that?
I'll take a look at it. We'll take a look at it. Looked all fine.
Did he go over track limit lines? That may be the bottom, but that looks normal. I can't say that he... I don't think it looks like he cut the track anywhere. This may be just allowing his teammate to take over the race lead, and we were theorizing about it. I didn't think we were going to see it happen.
Not in that fashion either. I figured maybe it'd be closer to the final set of corners also, but well, now we have to watch John Kroom navigate the lapped vehicle. I'd imagine he's not going to be pressing to get by, especially if Milan just let Kroom on through. But he is tailing the BMW.
Team tactics at play potentially to try and get John Kroom into this championship fight. And I love the intelligence behind this. We'll see how well received it is by drivers and teams in the series. It can definitely be a touchy subject, but hey, I don't think there's any rule on it. We saw a lot of it in the championship and pro last season at Interlagos.
Right. And he's still
you got to do what you got to do. Absolutely. At any one point in time, Milan Harris could have been the car, and I think we'd still be looking at John Kroom winning this race, because out of the bus stop here at Spa, all he's got to do now, hit the throttle and get up through the gears, and John Kroom has a victory in Belgium. There's the checkered flag, and there is your race winner, John Kroom. Milan Harris will go second, Matthew O'Leary third. Delgado and Turcotte. Contact here in the bus stop.
Oh, he's gone wide.
More contact. Here comes Mike Braun. He's going to try and get him. He's not going to get either one. It's a drag race for all three to the stripe. Wow.
Oh, oh, man. That was awesome. The traction control maybe not allowing the power to go down there.
You have Aaron Beaver here, somewhat close to Elias Speaker, but no fight really as they come up out of the corner. The closest fight on the racetrack, Emerson, let's check this out. This is for 26th spot, Avon Dorsey and Joshua Lyon. They've still got a fair portion of racetrack to navigate. Dorsey in a Porsche, chasing Joshua Lyon in a Ferrari.
Both of these guys were in trouble in the first 5 minutes, Andrew. They toughed it out. They're trying to finish this race, and maybe Dorsey may be able to get one more spot. Oh, don't go wide there. That would be an off track, but he kept those right sides within track limits, which is a-okay there.
We'll see if the 87 is able to find something here. Down to the bus stop. The last two cars on the racetrack that are battling here in the final couple of corners. Is there anything Avon Dorsey can do? Oh, Joshua Lyon completely misses that final corner here at Spa.
Man.
Dorsey a little bit slow, but he's going to take 26th. And there's Kenneth Michael out of gas on the left side. Make it 25th for Avon Dorsey, as Kenneth Michael is just going to try and coast. I think he's going to try and use the starter to get back to the start-finish here. He is nearly there. One car... Actually, no. I think he's locked in now to 27th spot.
Yeah, he is. Had about 90 seconds to get to the line and cross the line there.
And this is the final car to finish. This will be Don Gottlieb. And we'll find out if there's any final adjustments that iRacing makes to these results. Of course, they will still be unofficial until finalized by league admins, and it looks like nothing to speak of. So let's take a look then at our unofficial race results this evening from Spa. Round number 6 for the amateurs before we get some pro action on track. John Kroom taking the win here in amateur competition over his teammate Milan Harris, and here's how it breaks down to the top 10. John Kroom, Milan Harris, Matthew O'Leary, your amateur podium. We'll have a chance to talk to each of your top 2 finishers, your teammates that potentially set up that finish for John Kroom to win. Zach Rosar will finish 4th. Dominic Turcotte 5th. Ricardo Delgado goes 6th place tonight in a fantastic last-moment battle there with Dominic Turcotte and Mike Braun, who finishes 7th. King Cott will finish 8th. That is huge in the standings once again. Need I remind you, King Cott only 2 points out of the championship lead. Well, you don't see Aubrey Kundle on this list, do you? So King Cott gaining a lot more than 2 points on Aubrey Kundle. That is huge. Bradley Alvis, meanwhile, do you see him up here as well? No, you'll see him in 11th spot here in a moment, but Armando Bejaran does collect a top 10 just behind Blake Scott.
Bradley Alvis was in the top 10. He'll finish 11th, though. Surprising turn of events there towards the end. Scott Angelo comes from 12th. Elias Speaker 13th. Aaron Beaver 14th. Davis Stevenson had an eventful race. He'll finish 15th. Joe Nagy 16th. Michael Pusick 17th. Dominic Angelicchio finishes 18th. Kyle Petit 19th. And Clarence Rosa to round out the top 20, 76 seconds behind.
And I should be clear, it may still have been a slowdown for our race leaders out in front. We'll ask them to get clarification in a moment. Don't want to say anything that maybe might be inaccurate, too matter-of-factly. But let's check out 21st through 30th. Sean Patterson there in the 56 car, just ahead of Logan Boone and Corey Groves. Nicholas Sykes will finish 24th, and then that little battle we saw there at the end with Avon Dorsey and Joshua Lyon, that ends up being good for 25th and 26th, ahead of Kenneth Michael, who runs out of gas. Coming to the start-finish line, Philip Durka will finish 28th, and Don Gottlieb, the final car on the lead lap, will finish over 2 minutes behind the race leaders. Bruce Jackson, the first car, 1 lap down in 30th.
Yeah, Gottlieb, he had a big spin and poo on him about 10 minutes ago to cost him a lot of time, but it'll be Aubrey Kundle 31st. That has got to hurt after being up in the top 10, and of course, the point leader coming into today's race. It's going to be an uphill battle now if Kundle's going to be able to claim this season's title. And they'll have to start with the 31st place finish here at Spa. Chad Dick 32nd, Kerry Corcoran 33rd, Sonny Brown 34th, Stephen Finch 35th. Also had a huge moment earlier in the race. Brian Long, another driver caught out there on pit exit. Cold tires. Billy Bowerman 37th, Sully Sad 38th, Jeff Castillo 39th, Dean Kerr finishes 40th. And 41st is the 267 of Mark Scott, who also had some early trouble.
John Kroom walks away with the amateur race victory. Let's find out how it happened for car 455. First off, John, the most obvious elephant in the room. What happened there in the closing moments, the final lap with your teammate?
Yeah, Milan was nice enough to let me by, because I was higher in the overall standings, and he said, well, it'll help the team more if I let you go by and get more points in this one for individual standings. So that was really cool. So,
and of course, that's a polarizing move more often than not. If it's not written in the league rules that you can't do it, then it's all fair game, right? But what do you say to anybody who might not like that?
Well, I mean, well, that's a good question. I don't know. It actually caught me off guard when he slowed down, because I was trying to hold on to him the entire race. And he said, "No, I'm gonna let you go, and because it'll help you more as a team move." So, yeah, I didn't realize it was going to happen till he actually he said, "Quit slowing down, go around," and he said that I had the purple lap, so I deserved it. So.
Well, there you go, and that is going to be huge for you tonight. We were talking about the possibility of maybe some teamwork there, but that's, I think, a big part of this league, is surrounding yourself with a good community, I guess, a good team, teammates that are willing to do that kind of thing for you and roll over and give up a race victory. That is half of the battle and is really going to help you in this championship fight. I literally said at the top of the show, all the way back to ninth, John Kroom has a chance. You win today, you've got a really good chance now going into Brands Hatch, so long as you guys keep executing. How do you do that?
Yeah, and practicing with Milan, through the week and working with him, it was because Matthew was super quick and all over me, but I was able to hold on to the draft that Milan was pulling. So that was huge teamwork. Otherwise, I'm not sure if I could have stayed in front, or I would have been more battling. Like we battled in the very first lap. We got side by side a couple of times, and he's super clean. So it was fun.
Well, there you go. John Kroom with a victory tonight. 1 lap led. It was the most important one of all 18. Congratulations, John. We'll see you next week at Brands Hatch.
Thanks, guys. Looking forward to it.
That is a big-time win for John. But let's talk to his teammate here, Emerson Milan Harris. We'll see what he has to say about it.
Absolutely. Milan Harris, you drove a great race there. Making a move and for the interest of the team there on the final lap, though. What made you decide?
Absolutely, Emerson. That was a great race. Super proud of John on that one. We definitely grinded out some laps to get ready for this. It was good. At the end of the day, when it comes to team and team points, he's the higher one up the pole right now, and he definitely deserves to get up there. He earned it. So congrats to him on that, and I'm sure he will definitely earn straight up a win in the future. It's been great driving with him. We push each other. It's absolutely amazing driving with him. So.
Absolutely. We've seen John Kroom steadily improve over the course of the season as well. So no doubt I would have to agree with you there. From your race, it looked like it was a pretty clean race all around. You kind of avoided most of the trouble today, but what were some of the things that you were trying to keep an eye on to try to keep yourself out of trouble?
So we had a lot of communication going on. Matthew O'Leary with the Maradness team behind John there definitely kept us honest. I felt like I had a really good pace, so me and John were kind of communicating to try and make sure he could stay in my draft, and we could try to break that elastic so that make it a little harder on Matthew. I think that definitely worked a little bit. And other than that, watching tire temps. The tires were kind of important in this race, especially the temps on the track were a little higher than what we practiced in, so that took a little bit to get used to. But tire temps and honestly, me and John just worked together to kind of pull that off.
Well, there you go. Coming up next is Silverstone, or I'm sorry, not Silverstone. I just saw England. Brands Hatch. What's your game plan there for yourself and for the team then?
Yeah, I think I've drove on that track before. I don't remember, honestly. So we'll see.
Well, there you go. Congratulations then, Milan, on the dominant race today at a second place finish. And of course, a great performance for the team. Best luck to you next week at Brands Hatch. And
thank you. And thank you to the Rockefeller Racing team. They bring an awareness to breast cancer and mental health. It's a great team. The team spent a lot of time in the 24-hour race, so they kind of lacked a little bit of laps on this, but me and John did not do that, so we kind of had an advantage on that. And Maradness coaching. I was not able to coach with him this week, but just the info and the knowledge he gave me, I definitely brought into prepping for this race, and it was a huge help. So definitely a big thanks out to him. And also Chad, he was a gentleman. He led us through. Traffic was a little bit of a concern, but he was definitely a gentleman on that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Congratulations once again on the 6th place finish. And best luck to you over the course of the next 2 races.
Thank you.
There you go. Milan Harris with a good outlook here on the 6th race of the season. Let's take a look at the upcoming broadcasts here on the channel. if this is it for you, if you're just here for the amateurs, well, this is what you have to look forward to on Pit Stop TV for all of next week. First off, Monday evening, January 30th, it's Painbuilt Legends from South Boston Speedway. Then Tuesday, guess what? More Legend cars. We like that here at Pit Stop TV. It's the HFL Legend Series going to Hickory Motor Speedway. Two fantastic racetracks that are very much local to me that I've been to and broadcast from many times. Two very special racetracks for sure on Monday and Tuesday. And then Thursday we go to Brands Hatch, not Silverstone, with that beautiful McLaren hopefully in the field somewhere. That is going to be fun. That is a racetrack that definitely can get pretty punishing. We've seen that before with previous GT3 leagues, Emerson. That's going to be exciting and I'm looking forward to it. You can keep up with everything Pit Stop TV on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. But that will do it for the amateurs. We have, of course, a 50-minute race coming up for the pros next in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Here's a few messages from our partners at Pit Stop TV.
Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS. Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS.
Welcome back to the virtual Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, located, of course, in Belgium, and don't mind my pronunciation. I try. It's never quite there, Emerson, but glad that you're joining us all here on Pit Stop TV. Now, we are aware of some network difficulties that we're working through this evening, so it looks like it's only related to what we are sending out to the world. In that case, we are recording what we are broadcasting here just in case we have to put it up on YouTube later on. We appreciate your patience with whatever is happening currently, but qualifying on track. Let's talk about these pro standings, though, quickly. Gustavo Ediel works into this evening with an 11-point gap to Toby Soriano and Tim Matzke, 13 to Ricardo Rico, 24 to Matthew Dench. Over on the Pro-Am side, I think things are just about sorted out. Scott Kimbrough, a 31-point lead over Mitchell Johnson. All he's got to do is continue executing.
Absolutely. And executing, you know, again, we saw how difficult that would be in the amateur race. These pro races have been not easy at all for all of these drivers. And again, we still have the continuous car carousel. I'm glad to say that we have a McLaren like right there joining us on the track today. And it's great that we can continue to see that amazing backfire. But more importantly, these drivers are continuing to still have to find what works for them in these GT3 cars.
It does look like we are also having issues with trading paints, so we'll work with that as we're able. But here's Ricardo Rico. You can always recognize his black and green Ferrari as he runs fourth here in qualifying so far. So a couple of McLarens out front, an Audi in second, then a Ferrari, and how about another Audi wrapping up the top 10, or top 5 rather. Sixth for Bruno Ricarmo, it's going to be an Audi. Seventh, you'll have an Audi for Tim Matzke. Eighth, you've got another McLaren for Juan Blainat. Martin Crisp also in a McLaren. A lot of McLarens in this field, it seems, compared to what we usually see. How about Matthew Dench? A BMW in 10th spot, as Trading Paints does its best to catch up. A McLaren there for Stephen McDonald as part of the Brabham Esports effort. Martin Grimigna, meanwhile, joins us this evening in Pro-Am on pole currently in a BMW, it looks like. Scott Reister in a Ferrari. Dalton Zavadil in an Audi. Christopher Hill there in a BMW. Diego Eda there in a Ferrari. And the list just goes on and on and on. How about Mitchell Johnson potentially the one driver that can do something about this dominance for Scott Kimbrough in the Pro-Am category. Mitchell in a BMW tonight, and Scott Kimbrough, did we gloss over him, or is he not here tonight? I don't actually
I don't see Scott Kimbrough.
Very interesting. Who we do have is Love 46 finally back in the field. Good to see her in the grouping tonight in a Ferrari, it looks like, waiting on the paint to actually load. They're in 28th position. John Sedlak also joining us, as it looks like he has just pulled off track. Stacey Bertrand also on track tonight in car 52, along with Fabio Zamperlini and several others, as qualifying will come to a close. And once again, we appreciate everybody's understanding. It's a very interesting issue that we're having here on the broadcast. In case this just does not work out, we are recording this portion of the show to later upload if needed. We do want to shout out our partners here with the North American Racing League, of course, VRS, Maradness, and JS Consulting, each doing so much for us here at Pitstop TV. Well, more so for the league, and of course our partners with Pitstop TV, specifically Whiplash Media Simcams, SimRapMarket.com, and Short Track Weekly. So yes, we are experiencing a very odd internet connectivity issue, much like we talked about from Milan Harris a couple of weeks ago at Suzuka. And for those of you that will know, basically, we are in the sim, as you can see, we're having no problem there. It is something to do with OBS and actually sending the stream to the world. So for right now, it's beyond our hands. Hopefully it gets worked out soon. It's just some kind of moment. But let's go ahead and go through our starting order this evening at Spa for the pros. On pole, Marco Saavedra in car 99 in a McLaren. Hunter McDaniel also in McLaren. We'll start from second. Starting third, you'll find car number 1, defending series champion Gustavo Ariel, alongside Ricardo Rico, who won last race out at Suzuka. Starting 5th, it's Juan Buena. Victor Miranda will grade up from 6th position. Starting 7th, you'll find Bruno De Carmo. 8th will be Tim Matzke. And finally, to round out the top 10, it's Martin Crisp and Matthew Dench.
Row number 6, you'll find Toby Soriano, a little bit of a lower starting position than he'd imagine. Stephen McDonald will start 12. Martin Grimigna will start in the 13th position, and it'll be Jackson Resende, who's outside there in the 14th position to round out row 7. Row 8, it'll be Scott Reister. And Dalton Zavadil starts 16th. Row number 9, it'll be Christopher Hill and Diego Ede to round out row number 9. And row number 10, it'll be Lucas Souza and Blake Townend in your top 20.
Starting 21st, it's David Schwartz. 22nd, Mitchell Johnson. Starting 23rd, you'll find Pierre Thompson, then Ryan Amon. In 25th, will be Daniel Denizen, then Fabio Zamperlini from 26th. 27th starting spot, it's Zach Deas in car 012. Thomas Rayleigh starts from 28th. To round out the top 30, quickly, it's Miguel Colon and Love 46. On back to your final 10, John Sedlak, Stacey Bertrand, Eric Staropoli, Bobby Flack. 35th, it's Rodrigo Lapri. Ramon Vasquez from 36th. 37th, it's Brent Cook. 38th, Rob Rodriguez Jr. And the back row of the grid, you have got, there we go, Justin Barrera and Joel Singleton. Weather conditions for your pro race tonight. Let's check them out as we roll into the bus stop. A much cooler race. 65 degrees in the air, 66 on track and clear skies. Down past the green flag to open up our pro race this evening. We're green flag from Belgium. Down the Kemmel straight for the first time for the pros. And oh, a massive shunt.
Oh no, massive hits. Several of them.
Some crashing down to Lacombe. And it's hard to say exactly who's involved for now, but Martin Crisp is one car that is in it. Scott Reister also slow in the number 42. We've got more crashing. This is down to Bruxelles. Scott Reister is a big part of it. Oh my goodness, and Love 46's teammate also crashing out into the grass, into the dirt. There you see Matthew Dench in the number 83. He's involved. Daniel Denizen, it looks like, is a big part of it. Jackson Rosende back here. Joel Singleton, it looks like, is in it. Up front, Marco Savanger clear of it all as they head down to Lafayette for the first time.
Yeah, it looked like, again, well, there was a little bit of an issue in the bus stop, but other than that, it was looking very clean. And then they hit the Kemmel Straight, and they were left, right, and center, guardrail, track, grass, and dirt, and they were everywhere. And a lot of drivers involved, and some days ruined there. And again, if you didn't qualify, you know, the best, or you had a little bit of a mistake in your qualifying lap, you could be paying huge for that here with all the chaos that happened on the start.
Our leaders in the Blanchemont for the first time. Here they come around that 17th corner. Mistakes can be made with cold tires here. Will we see any this opening lap? It looks like maybe not. One car out wide, Christopher Hill. Zach Deus and some others avoid.
That'll be an off track, and then also potentially a slowdown, I believe, if you go wide there through Blanchemont as well. So you'll lose time, spots, and will be 1x closer to a pass-through penalty.
Oh, somebody goes around on a Ken Block special. It's Pierre Thompson.
Oh, man.
And Pierre's going to try and get back on track. He's now perpendicular to the racing course, and it looks like maybe he'll have an opportunity now to come into the pit lane and rejoin the field. Oh, Diego Eda out of the source.
They're still crashing. My goodness. Only 31 drivers crossed the line of our 40 starters.
Well, let's take a look back at our lap 1 melee.
Goodness, man. This track, again, it's a very difficult track. The cold tires, and then these cars, they're not easy to drive. With this high of a strength of field, these drivers are trying to get all they can, especially on these starts. I mean, look at how packed up they are.
This is into the first real corner, and oh my. This is into Lacombe. And we're going to need a lot more looks at this. We had a big frame drop there for a moment that kind of boggled us up, but let's check this out. This is Martin Crisp and multiple others. I saw Matthew Dench a big part of this. I think in part of the original Contact. Hard to see Dench in all of that, but he is a BMW, so look for that. As oh boy, one of the
he got hit from behind.
Yeah, one of the Texaco Racing by TK Porsches came flying into that corner, and I'm not sure who it was. And then something happens here to Scott Reister. Watch this. Loose out of Malmedy. Yeah. Over the racetrack, comes back across the field. Oh my goodness,
that's massive.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, and they don't stop. Oh my gosh.
There were not many brakes applied, if I'm being entirely honest.
I mean, there's smoke, there's yellow flags. At some point, we gotta be slowing down for this. I mean, we saw carnage in Lacombe as well.
Who is this Porsche that comes flying in? This is from that was Jackson Resende. I'm not sure what. I really don't know what was going on. We're going to keep breaking this down. We have a little more time to burn here in this pro race if we have to. So let's do it. I mean, there is so much to take in. That means a lot to this championship. This is Resende on board behind one of the Brabham Racing. This is McDonald. He's alongside of that McLaren. And Resende just, I don't know if he's run a prototype here recently or something, but completely misses the breaking point for Lacombe. And then you have this issue for Scott Reister.
Yeah, Reister, there was a problem into Lacombe, which looked like a breaking point miscalculation. And Reister a little too much on the throttle, and I'd imagine he had lost control of his car because this is wild.
And that was Denizen that came in as well. Wow. And even before this, there was an issue on the Kemmel Straight for a lot of these cars in the back, and Stacy Bertrand. So the entire NARL racing group, which is Scott Reister, Love 46, and Stacy Bertrand, all three of them wiped out on the opening lap. Here's Stacy Bertrand's story. Up over Radion, and let's watch this. Racing one of the Aerokinetics BMWs. And down this straightaway, down the Kemmel Straight. Oh,
man.
A slow car on the left. And I think a really poor move, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I'd imagine the car on the left probably had a slowdown from cutting Radion, and the car that was coming up quick at a quick rate of speed had probably panicked a little bit.
Yeah, there's the slow car on the left.
Yep.
And that doesn't even show it the best way. One more shot, one more replay, and then we're coming back live, I promise. This is very interesting. So we saw that develop, right? This is on the left side of Bertrand's car, this camera angle. And I think at any point in time, you can see you're being squeezed if you're the driver of the 93 there. You can lift. It's lap 1. That's a low percentage idea.
I believe that was Staropoli that made that contact, and that. I mean, I get it to a certain extent, right? This field is incredibly difficult to, make up ground in, and you obviously want to get every advantage you can on the start. But there's got to be, better ways to go about it. Some risks are being a little too unnecessary, and some really questionable moves.
All that said, let's focus up. We've got 42 minutes of racing left to go, and our leaders are doing some of the best of it. We've got Juan Blanat in a McLaren, Hunter McDaniel in a McLaren, Ricardo Rico in a Ferrari, all in line here, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Toby Soriano not far back, including Bruno De Carmo. Oh, and David Schwartz off the pace. Car 100 out of Malmedy.
Oh, no. And I get another Ferrari there, Andrew. There's a Ferrari struggling on the exit of that corner. Very low track temp. Maybe the Ferraris don't agree with it.
That's a possibility. It's, a good thing you mentioned the track temp, actually. Just the weather in general. In that amateur race, as Resende gets close to Lapri, I think he's trying to come back through this field with some vengeance. Again, one of the weirder mistakes I've ever seen from Jackson Resende. Prototype breaking point, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, yeah, as far as the temperatures, in that amateur race, some drivers were actually talking about the kind of bonus versus pros and cons, basically, to turbocharge or naturally aspirated. And it seems like all the naturally aspirated cars struggled in that higher temp race. As far as this lower temp race, we might see the opposite, where the naturally aspirated cars do better as, McLaren, Hunter McDaniel has gone off out of Blanchimont.
Oh, no.
And I think takes nobody with him. That is a miracle.
It looked like he was pretty quick out stage left there, but...
another McLaren right behind him. Fabio Zamperlini, former series champion.
And the names that are making mistakes, Andrew, are wild.
Well, let's ride on board for the issue from Hunter McDaniel. As if we can find him. I got to find Hunter McDaniel back in the lineup here. Car 12, and this is actually as it's already happening. So we can go back just a couple of moments and jump on board.
McDaniel, he's had a very impressive season to this point and has looked pretty stout. This McLaren looked like it was suiting him well, and
just over-rotates.
He didn't even hit a curb. The car was over-rotating before he got to the curb.
And then the issue for Fabio Zamperlini, also a McLaren. You'll see his hands this time. This time he does wash out to the curbing.
He got the curb. Yeah, that's huge.
A very different issue.
Maybe the McLaren felt the best while hot lapping, Andrew. Maybe it might not be the best racing car. I don't know, because the front runners are still running the McLaren, and it may be just two very isolated incidents. But
no, I think anybody who's run the McLaren will actually agree with you there. It's a very touchy car. You've got to run it just right. The Porsche is already, any Porsche you drive, you've got to drive a particular way to get the most speed out of it. The McLaren is even more temperamental. You've got to drive it perfectly if you're going to survive, especially if you're going to win. And we're seeing kind of the effect of that. It is a very touchy race car, but if you are able to handle it, boy, will it go fast, especially on some of these higher speed tracks. It's weird. The McLaren actually seems to be one of the higher speed vehicles in a straight line. I'm not sure if that's just by balance of performance or what have you, but the McLaren, for whatever reason right now, under these regulations, is thriving, if you can handle it.
It seems like it, because the front runners are definitely running. I've also noticed, not that it's truly important, but there's no headlights on for the McLaren.
Well, thankfully it's not nighttime.
Right.
We do have the sun, yeah. For the 39 more minutes we'll be racing, I think it's no issue as we're on board here with Bruno De Carmo. Just behind Toby Soriano, now falling back a little more than he was previously. You can see just ahead of these guys, there are some very close quarters racing. And here's the onboard with Juan Blanat as he's ahead of Ricardo Rico, and this will be an onboard from the rear perspective of Blanat's McLaren up Eau Rouge and over Radion. Take a look. Wide open.
You saw the heat haze there from the exhaust there, and that was while, you know, the RPMs fluctuated a little bit there going up the hill. And here we go, a huge run from Ricardo Rico side by side, and Rico will clear his way into the third position.
Zavadil and Gramigna further back. Gramigna, the leader, it looks like, in Pro-Am after all of that festivity at the start. Christopher Hill is second in that Pro-Am category. Third would actually go to Lucas Souza currently from Aerokinetics. A very strong day for him. He's kind of been the top driver from Aerokinetics this season, and that's a team I want to see succeed. They've just been a little bit off, I think, getting up to speed this season, and certainly they've had a lot of challenges, a lot of bad luck, a lot of big shunts on lap 1 that they just could not control, and played no fault in, but unfortunately, they still affect the race results for those guys over at Aerokinetics. This looking a little better, at least for Souza, as he runs in the 14th position overall, up 5 spots from his starting position. And it looks like he might have taken things easy at the start as well. You see, dropped to 20th off the get-go. Generally, when you see some drivers that start midfield go easy at the start, they tend to succeed later on.
I mean, this season especially, Andrew, he just stay out of the... Oh, it's almost surefire trouble at this point, because we have had some wild starts to the races this season. But if you can avoid it all, you can pick up a lot of spots pretty easily, and you don't really have to do too much other than avoid it. Maybe easier said than done, by the way.
Let's talk about our leaders briefly. You can see them there. Nose to tail currently. Gustavo Ariel just on the back end of Marcos Saavedra, and we have seen a very interesting season for Saavedra unfold. It has been trouble after trouble for that 99 car. He's been quick. He's had a lot of pace. I think one of the top contenders on any given week that you can count on to be up front. But boy, has it been a rough 5 races to this point. Hopefully race 6 maybe is the lucky one for car 99. And what's interesting is if you turn 99 upside down, what do you get? Well, you get 2 6s. So. He's also got 6 laps left, just saying.
Well, I mean, there you go. I mean, Saavedra, again, you know, he's gotten out to a great lead here now. Gustavo Ariel is going to keep him honest, and he's doing so in an Audi, by the way, which, again, I don't think gets enough look at here. You know, he's surrounded by McLarens. He is in that Audi there and keeping pace very well with Saavedra here, and then can have a say here, especially with, you know, oh, we got a car off there, a lapper.
And that's going to be Joel Singleton in car 010, as you can see him letting the field go by. Singleton also in a McLaren today. Looks like maybe out for a bit of a track day at this point, as things have gone rather poorly in the opening goings for him.
That wasn't the track.
Well, you know, sometimes McLaren just want to play in the sand, and honestly, I can't fault them. Victor Miranda chasing Toby Soriano. This is for 6th, ahead of Stephen McDonald. Thankfully, McDonald was able to get through that look-home incident on lap 1 safely. There aren't many super tight battles. Just looking through timing and scoring, trying to find something. There is Gramigna chasing Zavadil here, but I think Gramigna is trying to use Zavadil for some fuel savings. Of course, Zavadil, a much smaller car, opening up that hole for Gramigna to follow through in the draft. I'd have to imagine this is a strategy effort from Gramigna to stay behind Zavadil.
Certainly, you get that slipstream. If you can set up the pass nicely into the bus stop, you know, where overtakes can be a little clunky, you're already going at a slow speed. But Gramigna will let off. They're approaching the braking zone into the bus stop, maybe try to get something on the exit. Well, he's getting parked on the apex, and imagine not really trying to be, I mean, he's not really parking on him, but just trying to make the apex as it is.
Smart racing happening here from the current Pro-Am race leader. Now, this race being missed by Scott Kimbrough is going to be interesting in Pro-Am. Of course, we've talked about him pretty much having things locked up, but just in case something happens, just in case he loses enough points to make this a championship fight, let's then look to who would fall in line. Mitchell Johnson will be the next car up. And actually, let's wait for this battle because Gramigna is all but pushing Zafadil in the Audi.
He is pushing. Oh my goodness.
Wow. Yeah, these two trying to work together. It looks like Zafadil in 10th overall and in pro category, while Gramigna just tries to follow through and save fuel, and that is oh so important. If Gramigna is able to keep doing this, he's already got nearly a 5-second lead over Christopher Hill, who is second in class. Gramigna, he's working on a monster race win compared to the rest of his competitors. This is really smart stuff from car 823, and we have not seen much of him this season. We don't know much about him, but showing up into BMW tonight, one of the kind of boatier cars at times, but also a car that a lot of pros actually tend to go with still, despite it being a little more boaty. I think it's a little more stable. You can push it a little harder, and Gramigna is finding success.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I've realized the BMW is starting to make a little bit of a resurgence ever since the Porsches kind of got shown to boot a little bit with the update. But we haven't seen them do that much here in the NARL, which has been a little surprising to me. But we do get the BMW here, and I mean, dominating the Pro-Am category at the moment. And no real incentive to get around Christopher Hill either. If Christopher Hill continues to tow him along, and so be it.
Rather, he's chasing Dalton Zafadil currently. He's ahead of Christopher Hill. Just want to be clear there as we work up to the bus stop. And Zafadil, a recent addition over at SimCity Racing. Of course, Kurt Busch involved in that organization. SimCity kind of sounds like Sin City for a reason. A play off of the nickname for Las Vegas, Nevada. Wouldn't it be something if we get the Las Vegas Formula One course on iRacing? I don't think that's going to happen, but certainly wouldn't put any stock in it, but wouldn't that be interesting if we were to get that at some point? Christopher Hill, meanwhile, 12th on track overall, second to Martin Gramigna in Pro-Am. And back to the points conversation I was talking about with Pro-Am, Mitchell Johnson is next in line behind Scott Kimbrough in the standings. The problem for Mitchell Johnson is he had to start from the pit lane as they go by the lap car, I believe, of Joel Singleton. So you can see no data is loading here on our graphics for Johnson. He had to start from the pit lane. He is 25th on track currently. That is big. I mean, he is way, way back there. I want to say at least 10th to 15th. I mean, he might be 15th actually in Pro-Am. I see only Pro-Ams aside from Jackson or Sunday, maybe 13th in Pro-Am competition right now. That's a lot of points he'd be missing out on. Miguel Colon, on the other hand, who comes in third in the standings, is currently running, it looks like, 4th in class. So a lot is going to shake up as Colon, I think, got the rear end a little bit happy there through Bruxelles.
Yeah, he did. And Colon trying to get the most he can out of that Lamborghini. And for what it's worth, Mitchell Johnson, yes, very, isn't having the greatest of days in the class category. But imagine if it was a clean start. Overall, he'd still be 40th or in the low 30s or in the high 30s. 25th, I think, is pretty lucky, all things considered, in his scenario.
You can see the standings on screen once again, talking about the Pro-Am side, just in case Kimbrough loses enough points to make this a championship fight. In Pro, meanwhile, Gustavo Ediel has that 11-point advantage over Toby Soriano. Soriano currently running in 6th spot. You can see him kind of behind the graphic there in that all-black McLaren. And Saavedra has just gone purple at a 2:15.472. What's interesting is Tim Matzke is third in the standings, and he is having, I think, the most quiet race we've ever seen out of Matzke. Just riding around in 9th. Rico is next up on that list. He's running 3rd. Then Matthew Dench is 5th in standings, currently well out of things, actually, after the massive shunt in Lacoma lap 1. He is 30th on track. But Matzke, I mean, this is a really oddly quiet day for him.
Yeah, absolutely. We expect a little bit higher in the running order from Tim Matzke. Maybe the track isn't suiting him. Maybe the update changed a little something, and it's off for him. But Matsky is kind of running all by his lonesome as well, too. So when you get into this part of the race, Andrew, you know, we're well in now, 20 minutes in. There's no cars visibly in front of him. It's easy to get into a little bit of a slower pace. And you, I mean, if you're not absolutely on it mentally, you could start to lose more and more time to the cars ahead.
Some battles we're picking up into Lacombe off of the Kemmel Straight. Very common here at Spa. Of course, Zach Diaz gets ahead of Rodrigo Lepre and Bobby Flack. Mitchell Johnson here racing with Rob Rodriguez Jr., who has to give up the 24th position. So Mitchell Johnson up one more spot.
And again, you know, for Johnson, you know, could have been, you know, 40th at this point, but has done really well, avoided the chaos on the opening laps, and he still has plenty of time to work his way up in this class. Now, he does have that disadvantage of the pit lane start, but has that chance.
Back towards the front as we work lap number 10 of 23. Let's go on board with Bruno De Carmo. Let's see if we've got anything this lap. It looks like the answer to that question is no. He's just going to sit back with Juan Blanat for now as they ride 4th and 5th. De Carmo in that Audi, nice and tidy there through the bus stop. As this race just kind of trickles on through the hourglass, we're going to go Pit Stop TV's side by side, and how about that actually from Savandra? He goes purple. We'll be right back with more live coverage. You won't miss a thing on the left side of the screen. Keep a lookout for what is happening live.
Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS.
We said you wouldn't miss a thing, and you didn't. You just saw the leaders pit live here on Pit Stop TV from Spa. Thanks for joining us for the North American Racing League round number 6 of the season. This is the pro race. Savanger came in, he leaves first. Then it was Gustavo Ariel, he came in from second, leaves second. Now Toby Soriano and Juan Blanat are going to battle down to Lacombe with another battle in their rear view. Is there any move here made at the end of the Cowell straight? No, but Ricardo Rico defends over Hunter McDaniel. Actually, that's Stephen McDonald and Bruno DeCarmo who run side by side now as they'll work to Malmedy. Still nose to tail fighting now as they work down to Bruxelles. Blaine Knapp falling back a little bit. Then you got Ricardo Rico, Bruno DeCarmo, Stephen McDonald, Victor Miranda at the end of this train. Further back, Tim Matzke exits in the 9th spot, just ahead of Martin Grimigna, and Dalton Zavadil, who pitted a lap earlier, is well behind these couple of drivers. So Grimigna, a big-time gain, and he's got another pro that he can draft with and try to save even more fuel, as he now has about a 9-second or more, I think maybe even 10-second nearly gap, back to Christopher Hill for second in Pro-Am competition. And here we go. This is the fun.
Absolutely, Andrew. This is the next real big action spot in these races. Is right after the pit stops, right? This is the race gets a little rejuvenized. Sometimes most of these drivers may have changed tires, so there's some fresh rubber on these cars, so these drivers can play with a little bit. The opportunities to overtake have shown themselves up once again, as we have this slipstream train working its way up the backside. Well, I guess coming towards the front side of the course. And of course, the time is running down. We're into the second half of the race. The intensity starts to ramp up. The action gets a little bit more intense. And in races past, Andrew, we've seen some mistakes happen around this point.
Just watching the leaders here into La Source. Saavedra hangs on to the race leader. You can see now this is from Soriano all the way back through Victor Miranda. 3rd through 8th positions as they work down the hill, then back up the hill at Eau Rouge. They've got to be millimeter perfect. Such a scary set of corners as they head up over one more time. It's lap 13 of an expected 23 as well. So we've still got 11 laps to go, including the lap these drivers are currently on.
Right, that's a lot of time. You know, this race, yes, the time is winding down, and some of these drivers who have, you know, the overlay or the F1 box open to show how much time is remaining in the session may start to get a little, you know, riled up by the timer, you know, continuously counting down now, working towards 20 minutes left in the race. But that's still a lot of laps, plenty of passing opportunities here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. A lot of opportunities for these drivers to make up these positions. Now, I know someone like maybe in the case of, I'm trying to see someone who really lost spots. I don't actually see someone who really lost spots in that round of pit stops. But nonetheless, this whole train, especially if you keep up with one another, you can still sit here for, you know, 5, 6, 7 laps, save some tire, give yourself the opportunity to have a legitimate go, have some dive bombs in you. Because if you spend your time trying to overtake now, you're not going to have anything later in the race.
Just riding on board here with Stephen McDonald. Ricardo Rico may have some company here in a moment. He's got Bruno DeCarmo breathing down his neck. And those Texaco Racing by TK drivers have been oh so good this season, as always. And now it's the waiting game, Emerson. There we go. Now it's the waiting game, Emerson. About 15 minutes of just kind of waiting to see how this race works out. And waiting to see if these drivers are going to make any mistakes. We've got 6 of them under a blanket. And we're just waiting for one of them to mess up.
And again, you know, we've kind of had this happen to us in, you know, the last 4 or 5 races. So it unfortunately it kind of is anxiously waiting for that moment. But these drivers, of course, you know, at the level that they are, have the opportunity to not do that. But when you're running, again, this close, the stakes rise up. And if you're a driver like, looking at like Victor Miranda, I guess tagging on to the tail end of the group here. If you lose the draft, you know, there goes your chance to gain a good deal of spots.
We'll see. Whoa, there we go. One Blainac gets turned around in contact. Right before our very eyes, we finally see what's going to change these guys up front. Bruno DeCarmo to the inside. He goes by Juan Blainac. And the question is, what happened? And Juan is going to tow. Oh my goodness. You can still keep going, buddy. Unless he got some suspension damage, which is a possibility. But let's check this out for Juan Blanat. He's got Ricardo Rico just behind, but does Blanat maybe get into Soriano, or is it just Rico getting into Blanat? It's Rico into Blanat there.
Oh, man. I mean, it's so close quarters racing as it was, Andrew. They were all on top of one another. And then, you know, the difference in, you know, accelerating and braking through the very clunky chicane, if you will, there, like home. It unfortunately offers these kind of moments. And Rico, you know, no intent to do that, but, you know, was just trying to keep up with Blanat through Lake Home and just got a little too much of it.
And replay there. It looks like now a problem for Blake Townend in car 5 a little more recently. So we'll check this out briefly as he went sliding into, well, you saw some of the rewind there. He's going to go sliding in a Puhan, it looks like. And, you know, Emerson, again, this is one of the Audis, a touchier car, chasing a Porsche in Jackson Rosende. Diagnose this one for us.
Well, Blake, here he is. He has the opportunity. Oh, you know what? He saw the car up in front catch some curbing, and I think he wanted to do the same. The curbing rejected him, though.
Like asking out a date to the school prom.
Oh, bringing back bad memories.
Oh! Well, Matthew Dench is into the pit lane finally. He will come in for service. And, of course, he was involved in that lap 1 melee with Jackson Rosende. So, Dench well down the order.
And we were kind of waiting for it, Andrew, where the pro field got a huge shakeup through the pit stops. It's just a little bit after those pit stops where, you know, one or two things happen. It shakes with the pro order again. Here's in Pro-Am, Miguel Colon looking to get this position up the inside. Beautiful overtake. There you go.
Fantastic stuff. That is for 13th and for another spot in Pro-Am. That now puts Miguel Colon 3rd. Christopher Hill is still 2nd in that class. And now Lucas Souza is 4th as Ryan Amon runs in the 5th spot for Sim City Racing. Rodrigo Lepre runs in 6th. Bobby Flack runs in 7th. Zach Deus runs in the 9th spot in his Mercedes. Ramon Vasquez will run, I believe, then in 8th. And so on and so forth to Mitchell Johnson in car 021. And finally, Thomas Rayleigh, I believe, will round out your Pro-Am top 10 currently. Victor Miranda, meanwhile, out of all that happened with Ricardo Rico and Juan Blanat, Toby Soriano has kind of walked away from Stephen McDonald, and Ricardo Rico is still have to deal here with Victor Miranda. Now, as we have 15 minutes to go, we're actually a little past our initial kind of moment we wanted to go into our driver of the day conversation, Emerson. We've been doing this recently, and it's really taken off a little bit. Who do you nominate? Who are your 2 nominees for driver of the day today out of the pro category?
I think I'd be wrong to not nominate some of the highest movers in this pro category. Toby Soriano qualified 11th and has somehow survived all of this chaos. He finds himself on the podium, and I just saw Gustavo Ariel about half a lap ago take a wide line. I mean, took an off track and probably slow down out of Puan, and may have you know, more mistakes might happen like that. So I wouldn't even count out Toby Soriano out of a 2nd position finish today. And I guess the other would be Stephen McDonald, who has had a great run as well. He's kept himself out of trouble. Unfortunately, his teammate in Hunter McDaniel, who qualified 2nd, had the early off there in Blanchimont. But Stephen McDonald has been able to get a handle on this McLaren in that Brabham Esports machine, and is doing a nice job. He hasn't lost even that much touch to Toby Soriano, and he still has a very good shot at the podium.
Well, you leave me the obvious choice today, I think, and that has to be Marco Saavedra, who is just doing a fantastic job. Started on pole, and this McLaren has been there for all 15 laps, call it 16, well, 15 and 3/4 now as they work through campus. A fantastic job so far for Saavedra. The job is not yet done, But he will be my first nominee out of my two choices, and you took two that otherwise I would have taken in Toby Soriano and Stephen McDonald, which is making me think it's gone recently to guys like Gustavo Ediel and Ricardo Rico. Nothing against them, but we expect the best from them. How about Victor Miranda, who, yes, we expect the best from him in Porsche Cup, but he's had an off season in GT3 cars, and he has come through a little bit of adversity, missed a couple of crashes. He's in 6th, running right behind Ricardo Rico, who won and took driver of the day last race at Suzuka, and he might even make it 5th place here live. Oh, and they're going to nearly get into McDonald and nearly wipe him out. These two really, I think, racing with a bit of grit. But definitely, Victor Miranda and Marco Saavedra, especially Marco Saavedra, are my two nominees here for Driver of the Day today. That vote will be up momentarily, and as I say it, there it goes over on YouTube. Marco Saavedra, Toby Soriano, Stephen McDonald, and Victor Miranda are your options today. Those are some good ones as well, and I want to mention Jackson Rosende has just gone on by Christopher Hill. That is good for 11th on track. No change in class position for either one of those two.
But I think very important there for Jackson to try to reclimb his way up that running order there. It's going to be a little bit while away if he can get up to Zavadil and Gramigna. Zavadil would be for class position, but how about Marcus Saavedra? And looking way back here. Oh, near contact there at the apex of the first of the two corners and the bus stop.
This is Rob Rodriguez Jr., Matthew Dench, and Justin Barrera, 25th, 26th, 27th. Some drivers that have had some issues today. And, it looks like, maybe I was incorrect about something there with Diego, but Diego Adder's fine. But, yeah, watching these guys, 25th, 26th, 27th, they're very close quarters. And how about Rodrigo Lapri and Bobby Flack headed down the Kemmel Straight into Lacombe, and it looks like Rodrigo Lapri will take that spot away for 17th overall. Bobby Flack loses a spot in the Empire Racing Ferrari. Now up the inside in Malmedy. He looks to the inside, but no opportunity. Will Bobby look to the inside then in Bruxelles or Jackie X? I think he'll wait. And really, the race is, I mean, it's quieted down. You know, we're looking over timing and scoring. You and I, we do the same thing. We look over timing and scoring, just look for close battles, and there isn't much. There are drivers that are within a couple of tenths, but a couple of tenths doesn't really mean a whole lot when it's a place like Spa, because you're able to draft and kind of hang around and fuel save. This race has really quieted down for the first time, I think, all season.
And the thing with Spa also, you know, there's a few like very slow corners, like here in the bus stop, turn 1, you know, like passing opportunities like those. But for a majority of the course, Andrew, pretty much after Lake Home, you don't have a real legitimate passing opportunity until I'd say maybe down to double rights, right, corner before Stavolo. Not even.
Yeah. I think if I were to just think through the lap, La Source, obviously, it's just difficult. You've really got to be set up with somebody through the bus stop. A lot of work goes into passing at La Source. Otherwise, you're looking, of course, at Lacombe as well. Ricardo Rico looked at Victor Miranda for Lacombe, but no opportunity there. Tim Matsky, Martin Gramigna, same story. But yeah, you got La Source, you got Lacombe, and then you're just kind of in line until you get down maybe to Lafayette. Maybe if you have a really good run through Pouan, you catch somebody with a mistake, you can set something up. I think naturally, otherwise you're waiting all the way until the bus stop. As, Fight is swatting some flies there for Gramigna. You don't see that many times in GT3 cars, but that was actually some beautiful hand and footwork there from Martin.
It looked like he was wheeling a stock car around here.
Yeah, like some wheel hop.
Yeah. My goodness. But Gramigna, he's doing a fantastic job, by the way. 9th overall. And, I mean, he could have a go here at Matsky. And I wouldn't cut him out at the Karma either. I mean, Gramigna could look at 7th overall, which would be a phenomenal day for the Pro-Am class leader.
And I'm just going to do some campaigning today for this guy out front, Marco Saavedra. I think he deserves it. I see a lot of votes coming in for guys like Toby Soriano, Stephen McDonald, even more for Victor Miranda. I think you guys are overlooking somebody who is really, really showing some strength today. He's done fantastic, I think, in short run speed this season. Just had some issues putting races together. But today, Marcos Saavedra just simply looks fantastic. Phenomenal, if you will. Perfect form to this point, at the very least. And hopefully he can close things out, because this would be a race that Marcos really, really deserves. So many good starts to races. A good start to the season, if you want to count those, but just not able to close things out until potentially today, as long as he makes it through the next 8.5 minutes or so. I really think Saavedra, in my mind, is the gimme kind of guy today. He's got, by the way, a 5.5 second lead over Gustavo Ariel, reigning champion and current point leader.
And remember, before the pit stops, Andrew, Gustavo was within a second of Saavedra. I mean, Saavedra has really poured it on here. It's been a phenomenal drive. He nailed the pit stop, nailed the strategy, and has opened that gap, started to leg it on Gustavo Ariel. And Saavedra get a phenomenal drive. What'd you say? If you turn his car number upside down, what do you get?
66.
Just, 2 6s. So this is round number 6 on the season. I don't know, man.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of poking at earlier. It's looking good. If you take the predicted number of laps, 23, break that down 2 and 3, multiply 2 and 3 at 6. Just saying, some numbers maybe at work. I don't know, maybe a stretch, potentially. But either way, it's looking good for Marcos out front currently. 5.2 and 5.5 seconds, we'll call it. As it kind of varies a little bit throughout the lap. As here's a battle, David Schwartz and Thomas Rayleigh down to Lacombe. Side by side for that Audi and Ferrari battle. This is for 23rd on the racetrack. Schwartz is the purple Ferrari. Rayleigh, the purple Audi, and the Audi's going to win it, just ahead of Matthew Dench. Dench is going to go up the inside for Bruxelles, he thought anyways.
At the very least, you want to apply that pressure, get the driver in front thinking that you're going to make a very aggressive move.
Oh no, Rodrigo Labrie from Duck Hawk Racing. A massive, massive hit. I think maybe in Puan, potentially. Let's check it out. We'll even right on board as McDonald goes purple. A 2:15, 2:38 as he runs fourth. Oh, a hardware failure maybe. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Again, glad this is a sim, because that'd be a heavy, heavy hit.
Yeah, so I mean, some people may be running like butt kickers that you could attach to your seat and all. I mean, that's gotta hurt.
Hopefully that's not a full motion sim. That's
Right.
straight into the wall engine.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. One more angle. That is just a massive, massive impact.
That's huge.
And the way the car goes straight, that looks very much like some kind of hardware failure, like the wheel maybe disconnects or something, just right there, snap straight, and hard on the wall, right there. Wow.
Looks like a cord just fell out of a socket somewhere. That's unfortunate. And understandably has left the session.
A little bit of a clutch in here for Stephen McDonald as we come back to live picture. He's running fourth to Toby Soriano. Both of these drivers are on your driver of the day ballot. Soriano actually currently leading that. And, I've nominated him a couple of times this season. I've loved seeing what Toby has done. It's just not necessarily a shining day, I guess. These guys both are doing fantastic. I don't want to even give the impression that they aren't. Running third and fourth in these couple of McLarens, that in and of itself is no easy feat. Doing it at Spa, again, no easy feat. Doing it against the caliber of driver they're racing against, it only compounds. But Marcos Saavedra is just putting a walloping on this field. Now 6.5 seconds behind the wheel of that McLaren to Gustavo Ariel in second. 6.5 seconds of a lead over not only the reigning champion, but also current point leader, as these couple of drivers work into the bus stop here for third and fourth positions. And Saavedra, purple, answers the call there
Right
from
on
Stephen
cue.
McDonald. A 2:14.73, McDonald not able to go faster that lap.
Goodness, man, Andrew, that is cooking around here.
Yes. Yes, it is. The old regulation GT3 lap record is sitting somewhere around a 2:12. In fact, we can pull it up quickly via the track map here. Look on the left side of the screen. Look for GT3 Sven Haas, who we've seen before here on Pit Stop TV with the North American Racing League. Sven turned a 2:12. 541 with an Audi R8, and that is a very old lap time, as this is an attempt maybe McDonald right up to the back end. I think he knows he's got to save fuel. He's been saving fuel. As you can see, Ricardo Rico and Victor Miranda fighting in the background. Miranda on the inside for the first corner of Lacombe, side by side here for the second apex, and now into Malmedy, and it's Miranda on the inside who will prevail. But, yeah, these guys at 2:14s on this regulation of GT3 car on iRacing is so impressive to me. Previous regulations, way back when, on old tire models, running a 2:12, it's about a 2-second difference now. That is, and this is a fixed setup race. That is impressive.
Oh my goodness, I forgot about that part of it. Yeah. What a great stuff from Miranda. They continued to they had continued to battle for a few more corners there as well. But this is great. I nominated both of these drivers for driver of the day. I said, Soriano had a chance at Gustavo Ariel. It looks like, that started to fade. But I did also say McDonald has a chance at a podium. He has stepped it up here in the recent moments, has been in that slipstream of Soriano, got that fastest lap a couple laps to go. But the concern, as you've mentioned, Andrew, he is saving fuel. I wonder how close that number is.
Watch the RPMs here, and actually we can pull one of the onboard here. Watch the tachometer. All the way down to 1,000 RPMs into the bus stop, and these guys actually are about to catch up to Gustavo Ariel. I wonder if Gustavo is saving fuel. I wonder if a lot of these guys underfueled these cars today trying to find something. And it would pay dividends if you were able to underfuel the car here at Spa and do it successfully. You would save time on straightaways, and I think that's what these guys are trying to do.
But it's high risk, high reward.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But in the case of Gustavo, yes, he's got a lot to lose, but he could afford one drop round potentially. Do you want to use it at Spa? I don't think so, especially when you've seen so many big hits for so many big-time competitors. But we'll be playing with some fire as here we go. McDonald's going to have a look potentially at Soriano. Yes, he'll finally go as we are at 2 laps to go and inside of 1 minute 30. Now 1 minute 15 down to Lacombe. Oh, you see contact in the background as McDonald and Soriano stay side by side. Ricardo Rico, Victor Miranda into Lacombe here. There was contact down the straightaway between these two.
The crossover, though, Miranda back to the left side of Rico. They battled it out down here as well last lap. Rico with the defense.
You can see from the onboard there, Rico hangs on to the spot for now.
Great overtake, by the way, in Lacombe.
Yes, fantastic racing between all of these guys up front. Gramigna, by the way, no contest for Pro-Am competition. No contest for that race win currently. Christopher Hill is some 15, nearly 18 seconds, no, 19 seconds back in the second spot in that class. So we're watching this battle for 5th and 6th. Ricardo Rico and Victor Miranda, a couple of the hottest drivers of this series. Rico, fresh off of a win last time out at Suzuka in Japan. Miranda, I believe, reigning Porsche Cup champion in the North American Racing League. Up front, Marco Saavedra comes on through Blanchimont for one of the final times, and actually, this will be it. We're getting the white flag. This is the final lap for these guys. That catches me by surprise for sure. This is it for our race winner today, Marco Saavedra. A little bit loose there out of the bus stop, but it's no problem as car 99 is going to victory lane at Spa. How about Gustavo Ariel narrowly over Stephen McDonald, who got by Toby Soriano finally, and that's how the top 3 will sort out. Miranda gets Rico maybe right here at the line. Yes! Yes! Rico nabbed there by Miranda.
Wow, less than a tenth there between the two. That I got close, and wow, great racing. We were treated to, again, kind of a best of both worlds. If you're kind of a chaos kind of guy, you got the chaos at the beginning, and you got great, phenomenal racing throughout the rest of the race.
Bobby Flack chasing Zach Deas here. There's still a few more battles to go as Martin Gramigna takes Pro-Am win today. Also, you mentioned that podium potential for Stephen McDonald. Brabham Esports on the podium here at Spa as this battle goes down to the bus stop. Bobby Flack not able to get there. How about Mitchell Johnson, Fabio Zamperlini, oh so close. No change there. That is for 20th. How about between Justin Barrera and Rob Rodriguez Jr. for 25th down to the bus stop? The Lambo on the outside. That is Rob Rodriguez. A little bit. Oh, he goes up the inside. Contact with Barrera. And Rob is going to wait, it looks like, and give that spot right back to Justin Barrera. That is some camaraderie for sure.
Yeah, Rob, again, he was trying to, get that spot. He throttled up there to try to stay alongside a little too much, but the respectful thing to do after making a mistake, let him keep the spot. He did that. I think that'll, that goes over well.
So Marcos Saavedra with the dominating win we were talking about, Emerson. Simply fantastic. One of the best races we've seen from any driver this season. Marcos Saavedra leads, I do believe, every single lap, or maybe one shy of the total. Yeah, I believe every single lap goes to car 99 this evening over Gustavo Ariel by nearly 9 seconds when it's all said and done. That is a career performance, and he is now leading the driver of the day vote. It's not final yet, but will be final soon as Gustavo Ariel goes second. Stephen McDonald third, Toby Soriano fourth. Finishing fifth today, it is Victor Miranda narrowly over Ricardo Rico. Some great battles there to the end. McDonald nabbing the podium over Soriano. Miranda nabbing the top 5 over Rico. Then Bruno DeCarmo there in the 7th spot. Tim Matsky in 8th. Martin Gramigna in 9th, winning in Pro-Am competition and getting an overall top 10. And Dalton Zafadil goes 10th.
11th, we'll find Jackson Resende, who triggered a massive multi-car pileup on lap 1. Christopher Hill finishes second in his class. He will finish 12th overall. Lucas Souza, third in class. Miguel Colon just misses out there on a podium in the Pro-Am category. They finished 13th and 14th respectively. Blake Townend 15th overall. Ryan Amon finishes 16th. Zach Deas there in 17th. Bobby Flack in 18th. Mitchell Johnson 19th. Fabio Zamperlini, a disappointing day for Fabio, finishes 20th overall.
Finishing 21st is Matthew Dench, the Australian, after that lap 1 shunt involving Jackson Resende and one other car into Lacombe. That was just terrible from the get-go for car 83. David Schwartz, 22nd in Pro-Am. 22nd overall there in the Pro-Am category over Ramon Vasquez, Thomas Rayleigh, Justin Barrera, Rob Rodriguez Jr. in that very close battle and contact through the final corner. Diego Eda goes 27th, Brent Cook 28th. Martin Crisp will finish 29th, and Stacy Bertrand 30th.
30 lead lap finishers. Here's Heartbreakers Road. Joel Singleton finishes 31st, 1 lap off the pace. Daniel Dennison, 32nd. Rodrigo Lepre with a huge incident there, late 33rd. Juan Blanat also had, again, a huge incident. He finishes 34th, 9 laps down. Pierre Thompson, 35th. Hunter McDaniel with the lap 2 off, and Blanchimont finishes 36th. Scott Reister, the opening lap disaster in that Ferrari, finishes 37th. John Sedlak, 38th. Love 46, 39th. Eric Starapoli finishes in 40th.
Those are your 40 competitors this evening from Spa. Let's take a look. Actually, we're not taking a look at anything. We're going to go and grab our race winner this evening. Marcos Saavedra, you finally close out a race and take home a win, and you're today's driver of the day. How does it feel?
Good night, guys. Yeah, I'm really, really happy. Like, after 4 or 5 races, I can finally have a good result and a win. So I'm really, really happy.
We've seen all of the bad luck that's come your way this season. How would you sum up the season to this point? The first 6 races, how has it felt, all that bad luck?
Well, I was out like every race. I think I was out like on the first couple of laps, or like something happened. Like the past race on Interlagos, my computer failed when I was fighting for the podium, and like the first race, someone took me out, or it was a netcode really bad. I was out like really, really early in almost all races. So this is like, I don't know. It's great, After a really, really bad season for me, having a good result is great.
Well, Marcos, it might not get you a championship. You're still quite a ways out of that one, unfortunately. But a race win here. Could you go for the 3 sweep here at the back end of the season? Do you feel like you have something for Brands Hatch next week?
Well, this is like Spa is my favorite track, so I was really confident on my pace for this race, but I really like Brands Hatch too. So I don't know. Let's see on next week.
There you go. Marcos, congratulations. Not only, like I said, for the race win, but driver of the day today. That's an extra bit of bonus cash. Congratulations, buddy. We'll see you next week in England. Marcos Saavedra with a very, very strong showing tonight. Let's go down and grab Gustavo Ariel Emerson. He's headed your way.
And we have our second place finisher tonight, Gustavo Ariel. And Gustavo, you were very close before the pit stop. What happened then on the pit stop that caused the gap?
First of all, congratulations to Marcos and his team, the guys who finished on the podium. It's a pleasure to drive against this beast. So yeah, today another day like failing on the choose of the car, but I think it was a good one. Like every race that I choose the wrong car, I'm finishing on the top 5 on this season mainly. So very good for us. I think McLaren has a lot of straight line speed today. As we saw in Interlagos, it's like 2-3 tenths faster on the straights. When I lose like the draft of Marcos, it's over. So first in the beginning of the race, I tried to keep like 0.6, 0.7, and when I did a mistake like close to Blanchemont, it's like a 1.1, and yeah, good race. So yeah, I did my best. I left nothing on the table, and after the pit stop, I think he underfueled a bit, and he could like push and save on the 5 last laps, and that's it. Very happy with the P2. I was afraid because Toby is chasing, and grace to God he started to fight with Stefan and on the last lap, so I could like saving a bit more of fuel and finish on P2. So yeah, another good result for us on the season.
All right, next up is Brands Hatch. How do you feel about your chances then for round number 7, and how we go about trying to pick your car for Brands Hatch?
Yeah, I think Brands Hatch, it's a fun track. It's more old school, you know, like if you did a mistake, you're dead. So yeah, we need to put more laps on it, and let's see. I think the choose of the car maybe will be Audi. I don't know, because on the officials, Audi it's winning all of the races there. So yeah, let's see. I think Audi it's a good one there, but it's dangerous like on the rear. So yeah, let's try to do a lot of laps. Very happy with the P5 of Victor Miranda. Bruno Carmo did well too. So yeah, good one for the team. And thanks so much Texaco Racing by Tony Kanaan, all the sponsorships, all the friends. So it's a pleasure to race here. Thank you.
There you go. Once again, congratulations, Gustavo, on the second place finish. Best luck to you next Thursday night at Brands Hatch.
Thank you, guys. Have a good broadcast on the next one, and see you soon.
Gustavo always has great outlooks on these races, and car number 1 will finish, unfortunately, second for him, but still a very strong round, and I think it goes one more step closer to wrapping up this title. Even though Toby Soriano puts together a fantastic day in the 4th spot, Gustavo still outscores him and gets one step closer to a second consecutive title here in the North American Racing League in GT3 Racing. It looks like only one of our Pro-Am drivers is going to join us this evening. That's going to be Christopher Hill, and he will finish second tonight. Christopher, kind of an interesting race. There was a lot going on at the beginning that it quieted down. How did it look from your perspective?
You know, I think things all kind of, for the most part, went pretty well there. The first couple laps, we had some good side-by-side action that I can't remember who I was side with, but it looked like he had a little spin at one point there, and that was a little unfortunate because we had a pretty good clean race up to that point. So I hope it was self-induced in a sense there, because I definitely didn't want to be a contributing factor to that, but it was fun till then. After that, I was just attempting poorly to save fuel, and didn't do it quite enough there to get the extra lap that I was hoping for, and that ended up opening a gap up that I wasn't hoping for to the leader there, and in our class, and then just kind of did the best I could to kind of hang on to second within class, So happy with it, happy to get another podium, and all things considered. So.
And of course, this is just one more race down, one more race closer to the conclusion of this championship. You're not necessarily in contention for the title, but you are up there in points, about maybe in contention for third or fourth, maybe even second, depending on how things go. How do you close out these couple of races as strong as possible?
I'm just hoping we can finish with a couple more podiums. Unfortunately, last week, the last race we were moving and had an unfortunate internet service provider fun where they didn't connect to my internet in time, so unfortunately I missed that, and that took me out of any run for potentially a championship there. But if we can finish up with a couple more podiums, I think we might have a chance at maybe getting a top 3 overall for the season, which would be I think a pretty good result, all things considered. And hopefully we can pull that off. The next track is maybe not my strongest track, but hopefully strong enough to keep in the hunt. And then Daytona, I usually do pretty decent there, especially after running a few 24s there, So we'll see how that goes.
Well, hey, since you mentioned it, how did your 24 go last weekend?
We started strong, but unfortunately it was one of those races where everything that could go wrong went wrong. So I think we ended up with like a half an hour of repairs somewhere along the way, but had the pace to be up there on the podium, and just unfortunately, it just wasn't our day. But we had fun even so. Still, we're rather competitive and such in our split, and it was a lot of fun. But we ran the LMDH car, and that was a lot of fun too. So yeah.
Well, Christopher, as always, it's good talking to you here at the end of a North American Racing League event, and congratulations on P2 and Pro-Am. Hopefully you can kind of put these together and go ahead and maybe get a win here in class in these next couple of weeks.
For sure. Yeah, I also want to give a big shout out to Team Watson Racing Setup Shop. They're the guys that helped me out a whole bunch in all the forms of racing I'm doing these days. Also mention my precision racing instruction. I'm a full-time racing instructor by trade, and mostly in the real world, but do some sim stuff too. So anybody looking for a tune-up, feel free to reach out and connect up, and we'll see what we can do for you. So thanks so much. See you next week.
There you go. Christopher Hill from P2 and Pro-Am. Thanks for his time, and I'll do it, Emerson. As far as driver interviews, what another round. I think this is potentially one of the quieter rounds, but some of the larger implications in some cases for some drivers, I think, because we're getting to the point where seasons are ending by some of these mishaps that we see. But definitely, I think the quietest round we've seen so far.
I mean, there's a few contributing factors to that, right? You had the update today that may have changed some things, and maybe some drivers were uncertain. There was a lot of carnage in the opening lap, so maybe drivers maybe got a little bit I guess that maybe the aggression kind of had a drawback when there was so much going on in the early going, or maybe there was just a lot more that these drivers could do over the course of the long run. We saw a lot of self mistakes today, and we saw a lot maybe just 2-car incidents outside of the opening lap, and again, it was one of the quieter races, but it is crunch time. These drivers had to get serious. Maybe the risks started to be calculated a little bit more, because if you take a dive today, you may never get those points back.
Just 2 rounds left to go. It's Brands Hatch next week, followed up by Daytona International Speedway on February 9th. To wrap up this season. Boy, has it been fun. Thanks so much to our partners here at the North American Racing League, VRS, Virtual Racing School, Moradness, Driver Coaching, and so much more. Gloves, just a great Discord community. So much going on over at Radness, and of course, JS Consulting, putting together the back end of the website here for the North American Racing League. A big shout out to our partners with Pit Stop TV, of course, Whiplash Media Simcams, simrepmarket.com, where you can use promo code PSTV for 10% off of your order, in Short Track Weekly for supporting us here at Pit Stop TV. Upcoming shows on the channel, here's a look at them. Next up, Monday evening, January 30th, it is Pain Built Legends time from South Boston Speedway. Tuesday evening, more Legend Car racing, but for the HFL Legend Series from Hickory. And then Thursday, we go to Brands Hatch for round 7 of 8 for the North American Racing League this season. We're getting down to crunch time over there, and we are ready, well, over here, I should say, we're ready to crown a champion any time now. It's go time. There's no more excuses. You've just got to go win races.
I mean, absolutely. There's not a whole lot more you can do at this point. Your bets have kind of been made. You can try to claw back, small deficits, but at this point, you've just got to kind of perfect your craft. And if you're a long ways back, you're gonna need some outside help, and you're gonna need some luck on your side. But you got to keep yourself in it first and foremost.
And of course, you can find information on all of our upcoming broadcasts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. Whether it's the tune-in graphics that go out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or just the broadcasts that go up on Twitch, or maybe even the scheduled broadcasts over on YouTube. Always so much information to take in regarding Pit Stop TV and our upcoming shows. Take a look at any of our social media channels, or all of them for that matter. Follow along and join the conversation here with Pit Stop TV and catch our next broadcast. Once again, thanks so much for joining us this evening. I know it was a little bit rough at the get-go for the pro race with some internet connectivity issues. We did record the backup for this race, so if there's issues on the front end, we can fix that. Thank you for your understanding, of course, and congratulations to tonight's winners. Marco Saavedra here taking the Driver of the Day vote as well. That is, I think, huge for Car 99. Again, has been working so hard at it. Finally grabs himself a Driver of the Day and a race win. Congratulations to Marcos. We will see you all next week from Brands Hatch. Make sure you join us in between, though. Again, Monday evening, we go to South Boston Speedway with some Legend cars for some short track racing with Pain Built Legends and the Advanced Legends Cup. Do not miss it, and follow along. We might even have another show coming up on Wednesday next week. Stay tuned on social media for that.
Are you struggling to keep up with the top drivers? Are you ready to get faster and more consistent? If so, it doesn't have to take as long as you might think. With the VRS competitive subscription, you'll have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything you need to analyze your driving and see exactly where you're losing time. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off your lap times. When it comes to your equipment holding you back, the powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the best drivers in the world, including Jordan Caruso, Tim Ryan, Jordi Lopez, and Oscar Piastri. It's no secret that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also the best value for money. So if you're looking to upgrade your wheelbase to direct drive and want highly adjustable, ultra-realistic pedals, VRS is your answer. You can get better, faster, and more consistent in less time and for less money. You owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. Just go to the URL or the button below and learn why the best use VRS.